戦争は変わった。一つの時代が終わり、俺たちの戦争は終わった。
War has changed. It's no longer about nations, ideologies, or ethnicity. It's an endless series of proxy battles fought by mercenaries and machines. War and its consumption of life has become a well-oiled machine. War has changed. Verified soldiers carry algorithmic arms, manipulate social influence, AI enhance and regulate their timelines. Memetic control, information control, emotion control, battlefield control. Everything is monitored and kept under control. War has changed. The age of deterrence has become the age of control, all in the name of averting catastrophe from weapons of mass destruction. And he who controls the battlefield controls history. War has changed. And when the battlefield is under total control, war becomes routine.
Think outside the cage.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. See, there's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Crime News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Crime News Talk. Today is June 15th, 2026. We are live to tape on episode 949. And today, dose of disclosure. And signing on from Off the Grid, Razzle Dazzle. I'm your best buddy, Basil. And you are not crazy.
And my name is Gonz, at Face Like the Sun, director of the Age of Deceit films and the author of Prophecy Without Panic, recovering the patterns behind Bible prophecy, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ. Live to tape from the metaverse to bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ from a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. It's Monday.
Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
And it is the 15th of June, which means, according to the Canary Cry calendar, Espionage Act of 1917 enacted, based on Defense Secrets Act of 1911, but with much stiffer penalties, including death. So
nice little rabbit hole there. Nice little rabbit hole for anybody. That's one thing I love about the Canary Cry calendar is like any day you can look at it. And if you didn't have a rabbit hole to go down that day, there's one there waiting for you.
Right. Yeah. That day or that week at the very least. You know, there's not a week that goes by without at least one, usually 2 or 3 rabbit holes to go down. So definitely
public service.
Yeah. Yep. Well, over the weekend, let's see what happened. Elon Musk became a trillionaire on paper. The New York Knickerbockers won an NBA championship.
Yeah.
What else?
UFC fight at the White House.
UFC fight.
All sorts of cool stuff. And Disclosure Day.
They released more UFO files. I don't think anyone cares, but okay. All right.
Disclosure Day, Gonz, on the same day that they released the third tranche of government disclosure files about aliens, which, again, whoop-de-doo, surprise, surprise, is a very carefully calculated, calibrated disclosure based on some sort of roadmap and purpose that we don't claim to exactly know. But at the same time was Steven Spielberg's Disclosure Day. And I saw it. I did it. I did my job. I saw the movie.
Good job. I'm glad you were able to give money to the system.
I snuck in through an air vent at a local theater. I got my buddy Randall, who works at the concession stand. He makes sure
extra buttery popcorn or something.
Yeah, he makes sure that the armed guards. He tells me when the armed guards are not going to be guarding the air vent for the air conditioning system. So I sneak in there, and I crawl through the air vents like Bruce Willis in that one Christmas movie, and I drop in. Yeah. And then I drop in like Mission Impossible man on a little thing right into my seat. The movies are they're cranking along, folks. A lot of people are under the impression that like the movies are dead because of COVID. At least the one near me, and in some travels that I was in lately, I found that it was not necessarily just a special thing at my local theater. They have added something called D-Box. Do you know what D-Box is, Gons?
I've heard a little bit about it. Yeah, I've seen some reports about
it's motion theater.
Yeah,
okay.
You're moving around, right? It's like a ride now.
Some people might know it by a name called motion theater. Some people call it 4D. I think some places call it XD. Like there's a couple different names for it, and it's not that it's brand new. Kind of like 3D glasses, like 3D movies have been around since like the 30s. I think was like the first 3D movie. This motion theater technology, which is just like a chair with a lawnmower engine attached to it, is an old technology, but they are integrating it pretty successfully into the cinema experience. And not gonna lie, I have purchased a couple D-Box tickets. Huge fan. Not because it's especially good or especially
so wait, I'm curious because I don't think I'm going to spend any money anytime soon. Okay, I don't think I'm going to spend any money anytime soon to go see any of this stuff. So, are we like, if there's a conversation taking place in a truck on a bumpy road, does it kind of bump you along? Or?
Yeah, it just bumps you along. Sometimes it's very jarring and very not. It's not enjoyable. Like it's not good.
It's too much joltage for the scene.
Sometimes it's fun. Like part of it is like as a kid, I used to go to a motion theater where like you sit in this little pod and it's like you put on these glasses, it shows you a movie, and it's this special movie of like you going on a roller coaster or like down a mine shaft or something. And the idea is like you're in the mine cart and you're going down this roller coaster, and the chair that you're in swoops and swooshes, along with the movie. And it's like this, it's supposed to be some sort of experience, right? Loved it as a kid. But it's different when you're trying to do that with just regular movies, right? Because a regular movie,
I'm picturing Star Tours.
Yeah, right. Very similar. But like a regular movie is not made. The idea isn't like you are part of this movie, and from your perspective, you can experience the Avengers saving the world, right? That like the POV of a movie is not as if you were a person there at the events as they're happening. So they kind of got to get creative with like how they integrate the D-Box, the vibrating seats. Sometimes they hit it, sometimes they don't. I think it's entertaining strictly in sort of this like absurd sense of humans trying to entertain each other. But that's just me. Now, keep that in mind. Keep my attitude in mind as I share a little bit about Disclosure Day. Because, of course, Disclosure Day has been a running operation for 6 months or more. There's certainly more, but 6 months has been. And this is something that a lot of people forget, but we don't on this show because Canary Cry never forgets, okay? Everything that happens, everything that comes out, everything you're invited to participate in culture is not just a one-off sort of event. It's all part of this bigger, broader operation in culture. And Disclosure Day, of course, was really introduced or slid into the public sort of mass consciousness at the same time as Trump declaring that he's going to release the UFO files. So it's been this sort of simultaneous parallel operation between the literal government disclosure of aliens and the marketing for this movie, which is why June 13th has been a big day that everybody's been sort of, whether you know it or not. And I kind of experienced this myself because I know we mentioned it at the time, when the release date of June 13th was announced for Disclosure Day. We're like, okay, whoa, big day. Okay, big day. This is when they're doing it. There's obviously some big conglomeration, correlation of events that they're going to be planning, both from the government and the media and the blah, blah, blah. And Disclosure Day of the movie has a role to play in it, right? And I had totally forgotten about this. Like, I was not living every day counting down the days to Disclosure Day, like a lot of people have, right? I'm not saying our people necessarily, but this is
the greater culture. This is this is the first time that there was a pretty what seemed like a very coordinated effort between the actual government of the United States and a movie, kind of working together, as well as sort of the top researchers in a pretty fringe field that has been very mainstreamed in the last couple of years. So yeah, there's a lot of hype.
Absolutely. And of course it's like a part of the grand narrative that the elites are trying to like carry the world through in right now into, of course, what we know, disclosure of alien technology or relationship is all part of the technate, technocracy, beast system, revelation, et cetera, right? So we're looking at it from this big thing. Oh, shout out Nephilim Death Squad's in the chat. What's up, guys? They're here to talk about the movie. All right,
the ritual.
So that being said, I want to say this.
Okay.
It is driving me absolutely bonkers to see all of the reviews of this movie. And in my opinion, they are all totally missing the point, just painfully so. And that's okay. I think to a degree, that's kind of part of the op. It's kind of part of the thing. So just as a little background, many of you will know this. If you've been with us for a while, you'll already know this about me. But if you're new to the show, or maybe just haven't been around long enough for me to give a movie review, keep this in mind. When I'm watching movies, okay, I am going and making the choice to have a good time. Number one, I do it for work. I come at it from the perspective of an analyst, not just like a movie critic per se, although I can be pretty critical in like sort of a Hollywood sense, but like an analyst of reality, right? Do
you have your phone out and are you taking notes or are you just taking mental notes?
Me?
Because I'm the guy. No. When you're watching the movie, when you're watching the film.
No, I just soak it in. I just let it soak in, because if I'm writing stuff down, I find I get too nitpicky. But when I let it wash over me and soak it in, my brain is sort of connecting it to the big, broad canary cry theory of everything, right? Again, connected with like
to the chips or whatever
the
things going on in the
history
movie.
of humanity, the cosmic chess match of the adversary, using humanity's specialness as a creation of God, the image bearers, the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Nephilim, Genesis, it's all wrapped up. So I just let the brain God gave me do all the processing. So keep that in mind, all right? And what I'm noticing is even a lot of big accounts and a lot of big people who are commenting on the movie. I even watched Glenn Beck's review of the movie.
Oh, wow.
I actually appreciated Glenn Beck's review of the movie more than like most of what I heard. But some people come at it, they're like, oh, it's a bad movie. They're like considering it a contained. They're critiquing it as like a contained piece of media, right? They're like, the script is bad and there's plot holes and it doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? And throw that out the window, okay? Look, I'm not telling everybody listening that they have to like the movie. I'm just saying if you're coming at the movie in that way, you're not going to like what I have to say. This isn't for you. This is for... I
did see it. Well, just to also set it up, because I don't know what you're going to say here. But a lot of the hype and buildup was Steven Spielberg, the director of the film, coming out and saying like, oh, it's going to challenge your faith and it's going to make you doubt God and things of that nature. And I saw some memes afterwards saying it didn't make me doubt God or like lose faith in God. It made me lose faith in Steven Spielberg's ability to direct
Yeah,
a
yeah,
film,
yeah.
that
I
kind
thought
of
too.
stuff. So
And to a
yeah.
degree, that might be on so again, when I'm coming at a movie, I'm coming at it as an analyst of like everything,
Yeah.
and also as an audience member to like God's sovereign plan. Okay.
Uh-huh.
God allows, everybody's all worried about, the beast system. We're all worried about the technocracy. We're all worried about this thing. And we try our best every time we get worked up to go back to God's sovereignty. He's in control of everything. Everything the devil does is only allowed by God because God allows it to happen because it's part of his thing. Settle down. And coming at a movie that way as like a psychological operation and as a population control social engineering mechanism, just come at it as an audience member to God's sovereignty. You're going to have a much better time with it. So like when I'm watching movies, I'm not saying like, oh, this is a good movie or a bad movie based on a like packaged media container. But how it fits into like the whole human narrative, like psychological, spiritual control system, whatever.
Mhm.
And what a lot of people are missing about this movie, okay, is that exact thing, keeping that in mind coming at it, because there's a lot of people are mad because they want to be a movie critic and call it a bad movie, or they think that this was supposed to be disclosure, right? Like you could tell
Right. Yeah.
they
I saw
were,
some of that too. Yeah. You
Yeah.
call it disclosure day, but don't disclose anything kind of
like
attitude.
the real alien heads, like the alien buffs, like the experts in like
Mhm. The
all
UFO
the
researchers.
all the
real
UFO
ones.
researchers.
Yeah.
They're coming at it like, here we go. Steven Spielberg is going to
Spielberg's
disclose
gonna drop
aliens
truth bombs
to
in a movie.
everybody.
Yeah.
And
okay.
then and then as far as UFO lore goes, like if you have all the historical alien lore and you're a pro in that, this movie isn't for you. Like it's not here because there's all these people going like, well, they got this wrong about Roswell, or they didn't include this crash site in their montage, or oh, they're lying to us because they got this fact wrong about this government document. That's not what it's about. Okay. Just stop. I mean, look, I get it. You didn't like the movie. That's okay. But when you look at it as a giant piece of the grand scheme that we like to, come at things here, it was one heck of a time. I had a blast. Okay. I loved the movie for what it was. All right. I'm not saying it's a good movie by Hollywood standards. Not saying it's a great disclosure of alien facts. None of that. I had a lot of fun. Now, the reason I had a lot of fun, and people are missing this too, and I don't blame them for this, because a lot of the younger people are missing this sort of historical context, which is Steven Spielberg's previous alien movie, Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Mhm.
This movie is obviously, and people are missing it, but this is obviously a follow-up in the same universe as Close Encounters.
What?
And
Are you kidding?
if you haven't seen, and I had to encounter this myself because it's been a very long time since I've watched Close Encounters. If it's been a long time since you've watched Close Encounters, you're going to need to go watch it again, because it is also a bad movie. It is confusing. It is slow. It is like almost psychologically torturous in how incongruous that movie is with like
That's the one, right? With the melody?
The melody,
music?
right?
Yeah, okay, all right,
Devil's
yeah.
Tower, the
Okay.
melody, the whole
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And when you remember that, not only, I'm not calling it a sequel, but it's made by the same guy, it's the same universe that he made before, and it's like a follow-up, because that movie ended not with disclosure. That movie ended and aliens were still secret, right? So this follow-up movie is like, okay, we're many years down the line. It's not explicit. They don't say it, but you put the pieces together. This is a follow-up to that movie. And you got to remember, again, Steven Spielberg is perhaps the most renowned and skilled Hollywood sorcerer. Okay, you got to think of him as a sorcerer because we don't even think about it. But his, place in the empire as a sorcerer, as a social engineer, as a sort of occult psychological manipulator of the masses, there's nobody like him. And on the sort of like movie side, for movie buffs, you watch this and it is so quintessentially a Spielberg film, almost hilarious. It's almost a satire of Spielberg. He made a satire of his own style, because going through the movie, it's almost cartoonish how the action comes about, the choices that the characters make. It's so unreal, right? Like a guy is hiding behind a fence, but it's a split rail fence. So there's nothing in between, but he's hiding behind this fence. And like these guys with guns can't see him sort of like magically. Like it's not even in the story that he's like magically hidden. It's just, the physics don't make sense. The choices the characters make don't make sense. It's all just for the ritual of the movie. Very similarly to how we've broken down ritual before in these occult hierarchies, very similar to your local Masonic lodge. Okay. We've talked about ritual. We've talked about ceremony and how the hidden camera footage of Masonic rituals from local Masonic lodges basically show these rituals, and they're laughable at how corny they are. They're laughable. It's like grown men putting on children's plays, right?
Yeah.
They have toy swords or toy crowns.
Even like the Bohemian Grove clips from Alex Jones 25 years ago. And it's got that voice and whatever, they got an announcer. It looks like just like a Disney production kind of thing.
People get kind of annoyed, like online conspiracy people get annoyed when I say this, because the aesthetic of occult ritual oftentimes like makes people like, it makes it easier to be like, the Satanists are coming, they're in control, they're controlling the world, they're eating babies, right? Because the dark, kind of scary, satanic, eyes wide shut aesthetic is really, it really grasps you and can get you angry or scared or something, or engaged in like a breakdown of a ritual or something like that. Not to say that, these rituals are never that, but a lot of the videos of Masonic rituals are very, they're kind of a letdown. You're like, oh, this is corny and like lame, and it's like grown men pretending to be children. This is weird.
Right. Yeah.
This isn't scary. Oh, Satanism's not real. Oh, we shouldn't fear Masonic ritual. No, but that's where the power lies, right? The power does not come in these rituals in how cool does the Mason look when he does the ritual. It's the fact that he can perform the ritual. They could perform these rituals in broad daylight and people would just laugh at him and be like, this is so stupid. I'm not scared of you. And that's where the power lies. So we've talked about that before. Very similarly, Spielberg, maybe the highest sorcerer of Hollywood. And when I say sorcerer of Hollywood, so much of the culture that we all live in is actually generated by Spielberg and those like Spielberg. These symbols we understand in movies and reality, so many of them come from Spielberg. An example of this. This is an example I made. I wish I had maybe a less obscure example. But this is one example. Like if you're in a movie or a TV show or something, and a character maybe stows away in an airplane, and in the airplane cargo area, there's weird stuff, and there's a cage with a chicken in it, right? This is an Indiana Jones scene where in an airplane that's going somewhere, he's hiding in a plane in the cargo hold, and there's a a chicken in a cage. And it's hilarious and it's recognizable. And then it shows up and gets repeated in media for decades and decades. And everybody recognizes it, even if they don't recognize it for being from Indiana Jones. They're like, oh, it's a form of meme, right? It's a cultural gene, if you will. There are some new ones in this movie that I think we're going to see a lot. And because some people saw the movie, I'm going to say what one I think it is. And for those who have not seen the movie or will not see the movie, that's actually key. Keep an eye out for this because I think it's going to start popping up. And that is a train car filled with pianos. Okay, I'm just going to put that out there. Put that in your memory bank. A train car filled with pianos. Start seeing this show up in culture from now on.
Pin it.
Called it again.
Put a pin in it. Yeah. So you're discussing this as ritual, and I'm curious because I did hear some of that going around, even I guess prior to the film, or I guess about the time the film's coming out, which has only been a few days. But one example that I saw shared quite a bit was from Father Dan Rehel, and he said there could be a curse over the Disclosure Day movie for all who watch it. It could have demons provoke them. Steven Spielberg's Disclosure movie could be consecrated to Satan. Demons could be attached to the movie, and those who watch it could have demonic forces of terror to shake their faith and say, don't go see it or that kind of thing. So,
and I considered this. I considered this before.
I was going to say there's a when you say ritual, it's not necessarily this, although I mean we shouldn't put it past anybody in Hollywood that this stuff is going on.
Right.
But yeah. So I just want clarity because when you say ritual, I think a lot of people are going to relate to what Father Dan Rehel, went viral for saying kind of thing.
I see what you say. Yes. Yeah. And in a different way, in the same way that like the Oscars is a public ritual, the Super Bowl halftime show is a public ritual. These types of things. Disclosure Day is another example. And kind of like I was talking about the people who were hoping that this movie would be the disclosure. We got to remember, no. This is not Disclosure. If you're coming to this movie thinking like, here they go, they're going to tell us everything. This is the disclosure. You're going to be sad. You're going to be disappointed. You're going to make an angry, Facebook post about it. But keep in mind that this is a very important ritual in the social engineering, in the software update of culture, in the predictive programming, to put it in a phrase that a lot more people might understand. And so this was sort of like mandatory. This was a mandatory ritual in the same way that like a Masonic silly ritual in a Masonic lodge would be sort of mandatory for the lodge or a member to take the next step, sort of putting a flag in the ground. Here we are. This is where we move from here. And Spielberg's perfect for this, by the way, not only because he's like the highest of high sorcerers in Hollywood, but the movie itself, for those who are maybe wondering about the movie as a movie, like, is it entertaining? Should I go see the movie kind of thing? The movie itself, Spielberg had to be the one to do it for a lot of reasons. But number one is it plays much more like a weird indie kind of cerebral, nothing, kind of everything doesn't really make sense. Like, it doesn't follow a 3-act structure. It has a 5-act structure. It's like an art movie. It's like an A24 film movie. People will understand what I'm saying. It's like an A24 film, but it's a big Hollywood Steven Spielberg classic, dense, hot. Like, if you could have an essential oil called Hollywood, that's what this movie is. But it's sprinkled over like a weird artsy fartsy cerebral movie. And if Spielberg did not come in and put his like cartoonish, comfortable Hollywood dense veneer on it, nobody would watch it. It would be unwatchable if Spielberg didn't do it. which I think is, something a very interesting part of the operation here.
Well, they're celebrating the fact that it made. Let's see. This is Vulture saying they don't want us to know. Disclosure Day did well at the box office. Global total 92.8 million. That's not bad. Not bad
Not
for
bad.
a
No, not
movie,
bad.
you know,
And
in a
it's
theater.
interesting. I mean, it's actually pretty good compared to how viscerally everybody says that they hate this movie, right?
Well,
And
that's
now,
yeah, that's the whole thing. I mean, yeah, I mean,
like,
the marketing itself was hype enough to get everybody, whether they were there to support it or critique it. I mean, that's what you got to do. I mean, in some ways, it was a brilliant type of thing to trigger a bunch of Christians
Totally
to go see
brilliant.
this movie. To be honest with you,
it's
that's what I
totally
thought
brilliant.
when he first started talking about it's going to challenge your faith and all this stuff. It's like, oh, he understands the cultural milieu of the moment right now, with a lot of
Yes.
people turning to faith and stuff. So if you want a bunch of people going to watch the movie, you trigger them. That's the crowd you trigger, then you get everyone talking about it.
It was too corny cornball for half the people. It was too cerebral, artsy fartsy for the other half of people. Like, there's something for everybody to hate in this movie, and that's why I loved it so much.
The contrarian in you couldn't help but love this. Steven Spielberg, if you would like to come on to our show and do an interview,
I would love to.
We'll ask all the tough questions.
I think he would like what I have to say about the movie, even as I'm calling him like the high sorcerer of Hollywood.
He might take that as a compliment.
I think he would like that.
He would definitely. So I also saw the sentiment that this was sort of the last bastion of boomer films. And
Yes.
I think I hear you saying that without saying those words, but
Let me
kind
get
of like
there. I have that in my notes. In my notes, just to mention a couple things. Now, with any truly good psychological operation, there needs to be 99% truth and 1% lie, right? This is how the devil works. This is how deception has been since the Garden of Eden, right? This is how it has to work. It does not work otherwise. This is how the control mechanisms of the world, whether you consider it government sort of elitism or occultism or any of this kind of stuff, there has to be a lot of truth. And then you slip in the one little thing that guides people astray. Similar to our last episode, our breakdown of Christian humanism, right? And the state of re-enchantment that we're in. They go, oh my gosh, okay, everybody's figuring out this is supernatural world. Let's give them Christian humanism and just take that gospel part out of it, and we can guide a bunch of people, who are moving towards Christianity, but we can just take out the gospel and hopefully that'll help them out. Now, part of that truth that a lot of people missed was Steven Spielberg actually reveals or discloses, if you will, the psychological operation being put on every one of us since our childhood, preparing us for disclosure of aliens. Now, this is not a blatant part. This is not explicit. It's explicit to me because if you understand symbols, if you come at a movie from that side, where like, what's the operation? What are the symbols? What are the message? That you'll see what's going on much better than somebody who just wants to be mad about a movie. And he pretty much explicitly says that Disney, it has been basically a psyop for children for a very long time leading up to aliens. That he basically explicitly says that without saying it. And
so he's admitting to his life work because
people will
that was part of it.
One of the complaints that people have is, oh, the CGI is so bad. There's some CGI animals in the film. There's a CGI fox and an elk and a bird. And when these animals show up, they are so obviously CGI and so fake. It's like everybody's like, oh my gosh, couldn't they have gotten a better CGI guy to make the fox look more real? Couldn't they made the bird be more real? And they're totally missing the point. The point was that I'm not gonna do spoilers, but the aliens and the animals in the movie were supposed to look fake on purpose. And it's an allusion to the classic Disney programming of like friendly, animals coming to the children, or Snow White or Hansel and Gretel or whatever. Basically making a reference to, that this is an alien thing that Disney has been like programming children to interact with aliens without anybody noticing it, which I thought was I thought it was brazen. I thought that was lit up like the 4th of July, but I've not seen anybody else notice that.
People aren't paying attention to details like that. We have strange brains over here in the Canary.
I know.
I just looked it up here. So at least in terms of gross movies, Jurassic Park 1993 got made roughly $1 billion total. So it's been a while. So I guess it's total.
Which
so
movies? All right,
Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park is Spielberg movies.
Yeah,
so he's that's
He's
pretty
the man.
good to
He's
make.
the number one
I
man.
know. I'm just saying, like almost 100 million on release is pretty good. About 10% of his top grossing movie in one weekend is, this is probably and he made E.T. Extraterrestrials, traumatized me as a child. Thank you, Mr. Spielberg. And also Jaws, also
quintessential. He is the quintessential Hollywood. He if it weren't for Spielberg, the feeling of Hollywood would not exist. He is the one responsible for crafting the most important parts of Hollywood culture. All right.
Well, and to your point of ritual too, Jaws was a movie that caused people to stop going to beaches. So like these films aren't, I think they realized or recognized, maybe on purpose, maybe not, but in the 70s, 80s, they realized that the psychological effect that films have on people is extremely powerful. So in that sense,
it's recognized and praised that Jurassic Park is responsible for the entire generation of archaeologists that we have now. And that means the entire population of experts who are enforcing the scientific idea of dinosaurs and evolution and all these things, right? Think of all the weirdness around just dinosaurs and how we're all supposed to be convinced that dinosaurs existed.
Trust me, I am battling this daily with my son. He's 5. He loves dinosaurs.
And people's understanding of our own Earth history with dinosaurs and everything would not be what it is if it were not for Steven Spielberg. Same with archaeology. Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones is responsible
Raiders
for
of the Lost Ark.
Entire population of archaeologists digging up Göbekli Tepe, the pyramids, the population that controls what we think about our human history, our lost human history. Steven Spielberg praised with inspiring that entire population of experts, right? So he's like this high priest that guides the population to build like temples to scientism. It's a big deal. All right.
What about Schindler's List? That's what do you think?
Interesting, right? Schindler's List, very specific to culturally enforcing some very interesting things as well. Okay. Interesting note, no spoilers. The movie opens up in a pro wrestling match. So right off the bat, they are talking kayfabe. They're implying, scripted, but you buy in and it's real to you. We all know it's fake, but we agree that it's real. It's this pro wrestling match, very obvious symbolism starting out. Obviously throughout the whole thing, World War III is happening. You're hearing about bombs in Korea and stuff, and so this disclosure happens.
Same weekend as the White House stuff, huh? That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's kinda
The
weird, yeah.
same weekend as the UFC at the White House, same weekend as the alleged deal that Trump made with Iran to end World War III.
The
Interesting.
40th claim of the
Exactly.
come
Weird
to
how
a
all
deal.
these things sort of line up, huh? It's almost like somebody made some sort of
Scripted the thing,
ritual to
yeah,
program
ritual to
people's
script, yeah.
responses to it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
a big part of the storyline is government whistleblower, right? There's a whistleblower who leaves the secret government program that is hiding it, and that leaker or whistleblower is the one who is in control of orchestrating disclosure. And so you have this Hegelian dialectic between the government trying to hide it and the good guy who left the government trying to tell everybody. And it's funny because there's a white hat, black hat thing, and yet they're both from the same organization. It's this
Kind of
all
like right now, how there's
interesting.
everybody's an ex-CIA coming out there talking about that. Yeah,
Everybody's
yeah, interesting.
ex-CIA, everybody's whistleblowers. It's all the same. All right. Now, to the Christian thing real quick. We saw all the interviews of Steven Spielberg, and he's going, this movie, Christians, you gotta be ready. You gotta be careful. It's gonna shake your faith. It's gonna shake your faith. There's a lot of buildup to like, this is gonna destroy Christianity. Of course, weeks ago, we had the secret CIA pastor meeting, right? This was obviously all part of the op leading up to the movie, which was beautiful because the Christian questioning part of the movie is so not that important that it's obvious that they just got the data that says make a big
Like
deal about
targeting market data type of information.
Exactly. It's so not really a huge part of the movie, but it is a part of the movie. But it's a beautiful straw man, okay? Because, of course, Christians here, fringe Christians for many years, we have been wrestling with the question of aliens. What does the Bible have to say? What does theology? What does God have to say? Now, we caught a little bit of this before, but the movie is very clear. It says, Christians, don't be afraid of what you do not know, okay? If aliens exist and have come from another planet, God is still real. As if the biggest problem in the Christian world is if aliens are real, then is God real, right? This is that straw man argument we've been pointing out recently, where the secular world, Steven Spielberg wants to tell Christians or tell the world that Christians are scared of aliens because it means God's not real, which is totally not the problem that anybody has, any Christian has with aliens, but it insists on itself over and over and over again to, I think, convince the secular world, like, hey, Christians are going to push back on aliens, but it's just because they're scared, because they think that it's going to ruin Christianity if aliens are real, right? Not even touching on the now sort of mass adoption of Genesis 6 theology, of not aliens not being real, but aliens not being who they say they are, right? Aliens not being from a different planet, aliens not even being sort of extraterrestrial, aliens not even being what they appear to be, but instead perhaps something like, a long genetic program to give the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, the offspring of the fallen angels, the ability to have some sort of interaction in this world. No. It has nothing to do with Nephilim or Genesis 6, says Spielberg. It's this basic, flimsy, almost wispy. It's like a burp. It just is here and it's gone, this problem that the world wants to focus on, of, oh, Christians are scared because if aliens are real, then that means God's not real, right? So total impotence when it comes to that. So impotent, in fact, that I don't even think it's for Christians. I think it's for secular people to pre-program to have a reaction for when Christians inevitably go, hey, the aliens aren't what they say they are. You shouldn't trust them, right?
It's
Because
almost like it seems like a rehash of what Hollywood really was, because Hollywood has that was always Hollywood's message, and they've lost the control of that narrative. In recent years, nobody likes Hollywood. Everyone's leaving California, that kind of thing. So it's almost like bringing back that old antichrist take on such topics. Yeah, maybe it was to reactivate the secularists. It's like, guys, remember where the alien thing, or not the alien thing, but the God thing, and how, now we got the aliens to sort of reignite that conversation or something. So I don't know, it's kind of strange.
it's just a totally impotent, out of touch straw man illusion for the non-Christians to be pre-programmed. When they hear a Christian push back against aliens, they're going to assume that those Christians are just scared that if aliens are real, then God isn't real, right? And they hammer that in, which is totally off point. It's totally impotent. It's nothing, but is going to be very effective for some non-Christians. They're going to just it's going to trigger them when aliens are disclosed and Christians go, hey, the point is you shouldn't trust what these aliens have to say. Okay, they aren't who they say they are.
Right.
Okay, now to get to the end here. The first through fourth acts, totally fun, have a blast. There's government, astral projection stuff. There's consciousness stuff. There's illusion stuff. There's what else is there? There's possession technology. The possession technology in the hands of government is like a huge part of this. But what is the most boomer part about it? And God love you, boomers. When I say that, I'm not saying it as a mean thing to you. What I'm saying is as an indication of a previous time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, an indication in this narrative that they are pushing a narrative that is not for right now is at the end of the movie, when disclosure happens and finally the world is going to know about aliens, it's all because the heroes of the movie were able to get on the mainstream media news. And CNN and NBC and CBS and all the mainstream media finally say aliens are real, so therefore aliens are real.
Oh my gosh.
It's just reinforcing this dead paradigm
Okay.
of
All right. Yeah. So there you go.
said it, so therefore it's real, as if to imply that we can disclosure really only happens when an NBC anchor comes on and says, it is official, aliens are real. Like, that is the most, again, to all of our lovely boomer listeners, please don't hear me wrong here, but when people on the internet complain that this movie is like boomer propaganda, that's the most boomer thing about it.
It must be that.
They are enforcing a paradigm where the mainstream media actually has still is like the most important part of
maybe that was the case when Spielberg wrote that part in like 1994 or something. He's like, oh, this would be a great ending to this disclosure moment, and then he's got to wait till 2026 to do it, and it doesn't really land the way it did 20 years ago. All right, so it sounds like he's reinforcing. The ritual is to reinforce and reactivate some of those old years of programming that Hollywood has been doing for a long time, and just sort of reigniting it in this new era to try to get everybody.
That's kind of the thing. It's to reinforce the current power structure, and that the twist, the thing, because I'm sitting here and I'm watching a lot of it and I'm going, whoa, actually, okay, all right, I can't believe they just did that. Okay, they're really putting some stuff out here. Okay, here we go. And then it was in that third act that I was like, oh, there it is. Okay, so they're trying to reinforce that not just once the news says it, but what the news says about it is true. The theme that disclosure comes from the government can be trusted, and that disclosure inevitably in the movie, of course, is that, hey, the aliens are our friends and they want to help us, and they're actually good guys, and they're from another planet, and they, that they're good. That's the ultimate, if you want to boil down the whole deception, which is the great deception, right? Again, this is great deception theology. We've been talking about it for years, but in the very dense Hollywood propaganda, social engineering style, what they're saying is, hey, don't listen to Christians when they have something to say about aliens because they're just scared. Listen to the news because the news will tell you the truth. And lastly, the aliens are friendly and they love you and they know everything about you and they want you to feel good and they're
gods,
which is exactly what a demon would do, right?
Yeah, they would claim to be gods.
There's this theme throughout that the aliens have this sort of power of compassion, right? They're able to touch somebody's heart and that person just melts and feels good, and they just they bring peace to the world. The aliens, they just bring love and understanding, and whenever this alien power is sort of exercised, it just brings, to put it one way, the kingdom of God reigns, right? There's peace and love and everything's good. And so that's the deception, because that's exactly what we're expecting of the sort of demonic influence of the aliens is, hey, the lie is we're here to bring peace, to bring love. We don't have any other motives. And we can prove it by making you feel good or telling you something that nobody else could know or something like that.
Okay.
So that's the long and short of it. I would say see the movie. Now, it depends on how you are. If you're someone who is maybe not a huge movie buff, maybe you just go to the movies once in a while, and you just like a straightforward, easy peasy movie, this is not going to be the easy peasy, straightforward movie for you. But if you like things a little cerebral, if you're, that kind of thing, maybe if you see a lot of movies, if you have opinions about movies and movie making, there's a lot of fodder here for you to think about. Glenn Beck, the thing he ended with, and God bless that man, but he is, I think, a perfect example of part of the operation here. He says, go see the movie early in the day and then go to dinner afterwards, because you're going to have a lot of things to talk about with
Well, certainly got you talking. They got everybody on the internet talking.
Totally. The Canarians, from our worldview, from what we know, you're going to have a blast watching it and being like, oh, there it is. Ah, there it is. Oh, caught you. Oh, it's a good time. Before we move on to a couple of related news things, I will say I did see 2 movies this weekend. I also saw Masters of the Universe, which is the He-Man film.
Oh, this is my childhood right here.
Exactly. And I will say this, if you were a He-Man fan, the He-Man films get a lot of hate as well. You knowing now my perspective when I go see a movie, I also love that film. It's the signal with the He-Man film is a turnaround in the culture for young men. And there's even a way to view it. There's even a way to view it and see it, that it's an endorsement of young Christian men. Yes, that's in there too. I see a lot of like, hey, young Christian men, go forth. And now maybe that's me reading into it. Maybe that's me being optimistic, right? But I caught that. I could see some like young Christian men who are kind of getting some guff from their peers, and other young people are giving them a hard time for being a Christian or something. I could see this film being very encouraging to young Christian men to just be good young Christian men.
Well, it's the films typically try to speak to the culture or shape culture, but with Hollywood specifically, since they've fallen behind the ball a little bit culturally, it would make sense to try to, produce a film and get it out there that would attract the current young men movement, or like, I don't know, the patristic movement, or whatever you want to call it. So that makes sense, but I am struck by the fact that no movie, or hardly any movie, is original anymore. There's no, it's either tapping into nostalgia, or, I mean, even in the case of Disclosure Day, it's somewhat of a nostalgic thing to bring Spielberg into it. If you're not paying attention to all the cultural,
it's explicitly
ritualistic things, it's
nostalgic to use Spielberg like that. Right. That's why they did it. It is very nostalgic, even down from the camera angles, the camera movements. It feels very Indiana Jones. It feels very Jaws. It feels very Spielberg.
Right. So
I was thinking that when I was watching it.
Yeah. So, I mean, to be honest with you, I was thinking at the beginning of your rant, I was like, okay, I'm going to make my decision on whether to go see either of these. Master of the Universe, I might go see, but I haven't seen a movie.
I could give for those who just want to have a fun time at the movies. Look, I'm not going to put my seal of approval on it, because, there's always things that, I could pick apart. But for
an email later.
Yeah, I know. For fun shapes and colors, and from what I got was a pretty good message, I think He-Man's worth seeing, honestly.
So if I had to choose one, okay, He-Man or Disclosure Day?
Are you bringing the kids? Are you?
No, why would I bring my children to see Disclosure Day? I mean, crazy?
Gons, Face Like the Sun Gons would have fun with Disclosure Day. I think Dad Gons would like He-Man.
You see, the problem is I can't watch any movie now without seeing the symbolism and the things, and busting out my little notepad and start taking notes.
Part of the fun.
I can't. Well, that's the problem. You go in there with the mindset, I'm going to enjoy this, and I've done that too. I've plenty of movies where I walk in, kids movies, where I go, I'm just watching this, fun for the kids, and 10 minutes into it, I'm like, did anybody see the symbolism? Anybody see the op? And then I'm left feeling crazy and frustrated. I don't like seeing movies.
Go He-Man for you. I was not overwhelmed.
Well, that's my problem. All right.
Aussie Mongrel Saved by Grace in the YouTube chat says He-Man was great, best and most enjoyable movie I've seen. I gotta say, I enjoyed He-Man a lot. It was very fun. I'm not gonna. Don't send me an email if you don't like it, or if you go and see it and you say, "Oh, the Illuminati was in it." Like, of course the Illuminati is in it, but
Skeletor's in it. So yes, the Illuminati is in it. What are you crazy? Yeah,
it's fun shapes and colors, and there's good values. I'll say there's good values in He-Man.
The thing with He-Man is, the evil looks like evil.
Exactly.
So much of what we have now is like, you can't tell if the good guy is the bad guy, the bad guy's the good guy. Every good guy has its faults and all this stuff, but in a really simple light versus dark way, He-Man is very, very
That's what I loved about it. There was none of this 2020, but the bad guy's actually doing it for a good reason, or
right.
Empathize with
sympathy
the bad
for
guy.
The devil type.
It was just straightforward, good values. We're not trying to make a statement about feminism. We're not trying to make a statement about the nature of evil and postmodernism. It was just straight down the line, shapes and colors, cool music, and straightforward values.
Is it going to make me want to get back in the gym?
It's definitely going to make you want to get ripped. It
Okay,
definitely
yeah,
got me fired up about getting back in the gym.
you order the creatine again. Like, yeah, I think that might be the
which
result
is
here.
what America needs right now. He-Man is what America needs right now.
Creatine. America needs creatine right now.
Disclosure Day is what the government lizard people want you to want. He-Man is the antidote to the Disclosure Day propaganda.
Who made He-Man?
You mean the movie? I don't know.
Yeah, the movie.
I didn't pay attention to somebody good, whoever they are. I didn't see any notable names, and I'm fairly familiar with kind of the scene.
Directed by Travis Knight. Let's see. Produced by Todd Black, Blumenthal. All right. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, Amazon. It's distributors. Amazon.
Yeah.
All right.
Which was the interesting thing.
$200 million.
My question is always like, whoa, there's good values and it's straightforward and it's not like trying to be weird. How would they let this out there? Why would they let this out there? And then I saw it was distributed by Amazon and not by a classic Hollywood MGM.
Well, it's Amazon MGM Studios.
Yeah. But it had another name in there. So I'm kind of like, okay, it seems like maybe somebody gave the traditional values the okay to get through without having to go through kind of the normal.
It's crazy. I'm looking at the wiki here, and it says that the film was announced in 2009.
That doesn't surprise me.
It took almost 20 years to make this film.
It is an incredibly meticulously crafted film.
Yeah,
and
well, they got
ramble about that, but that was one thing I thought while I was watching it, and after I go, that is an absolutely meticulously crafted film. So I could see it taking 10, 20 years for sure.
All right. Okay.
All right.
Well, just for the
put a couple headlines on
a couple headlines to go along with it here. Let's see. Oh, wait, you know what? I haven't even played any jingles today. Let's see.
You don't know what you're looking at.
What's driving that thing? It's not a space alien.
Aliens. It's unidentified.
Where are the aliens?
Yeah, where are the aliens, Elon Musk? CBS News had the headline, Pentagon releases third batch of UFO files detailing mysterious orb sightings. Are you seeing this?
Are you seeing this?
Are you seeing this?
Oh, that was one great thing about, well, I don't know about great. That was one thing about Disclosure Day was that they included tons and tons of the kind of disclosed UFO videos. A lot of the videos that we've seen online over the years, they were repurposed for the film. They didn't use the like actual raw footage. They kind of Hollywooded it up a lot, but in the disclosure on the mainstream media news, they were showing lots of videos of aliens and stuff, and they were all kind of gussied up versions of the clips we've seen.
I was seeing some, and this is all based on what I'm seeing from the reaction of people. And I know we're trying to move on, but just another point about the film. People were saying that it was really distasteful to do like child kidnapping in like a post-Epstein world, to have like a child kidnapping part.
There's a weird vibe. There's a weird vibe with the child abductions, and it's all has to do with Disney, by the way.
Yeah,
they basically said Disney's involved in abducting children.
Great. That's fantastic. All right. The Pentagon on Friday released a new group of documents and video related to UFOs or UAPs. The third release since the government began a wave of new disclosures last month. The latest batch includes 53 documents, 10 images from the CIA, FBI, NASA, and the Department of Defense, and other unspecified agencies. Who are the unspecified agencies? Along with 6 videos and 3 NASA audio recordings. The videos show orb-like objects in the sky, while a set of images and clips offer, quote, artistic interpretations of reported sightings. I think people were kind of mad about that one. Several of the documents detail encounters reported by federal law enforcement officers in 2023, in which 5 agents reported seeing strange orbs on the horizon. One agent recounted their partner asking, "Are you seeing this?" as a glowing orb lit up the sky. A lot of like the post 2022, 2023, because there's another one here that they talk about from 2025, these orb sightings. In a world of drones, how do we know that they're not just drones?
Yeah.
Have we ruled that out, or are we just, it's just whatever? We're just putting whatever in here now. I don't know. I don't know, man. Very underwhelming. A lot of people were not very happy about this. I feel like they're losing now that the film is out too. I wonder if they're going to back off and settle down a little bit on the disclosure.
Oh, they're going to milk it. That's what
I know they're going to milk it, but just in terms of
Marzulli, they're going to keep milking it. It's
yeah. I don't think they're going to stop, but
I think this weekend they could get away with a lackluster drop because of the movie.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. That makes sense a little bit. Yeah. Let's see. Quote, "The luminous object," this is from 2025, "resembled a plasma-like sphere intermittently changing shape and luminosity. At times, the primary light source appeared to separate into smaller luminous points," the Pentagon said. Quote, "A luminous point below the primary source hovered just above the water and did not appear consistent with a surface reflection. The object remained generally stationary for approximately 45 minutes before disappearing." And yeah, there's some grainy videos and grainy images and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they keep telling us that what they really have, they're not going to show. And I mean, and part of this conversation, and I'm noticing this as well, and just stepping back and looking at the bigger picture, the people we've been tracking, Basil, Avi Loeb, Harvard professor, he's been really vocal about the 3-eye atlas, that what is it, an asteroid or a comet or something like that was moving around the solar system apparently, and then moved behind the sun, and it's changing trajectory, and maybe it's a alien drone, and all these kind of intense suggestions for what's out there. Avi Loeb has been the guy in media talking about this from a Harvard scientist point of view, right? And just saying Harvard scientists talking UFOs and aliens provides this sheen of credibility for a lot of people.
Mhm.
And he was just brought on to be the what is it here? I have it in my notes. The new lead of UAP Science Advisory Council. And so yeah, I know that they've had this council and there's these things forming, but as we see government institutions and groups and councils, especially, anytime these things are formed, it's not to actually benefit the public ever. You think about World War II. What happened after World War II? The United Nations was formed. The European Union was formed. All these organizations, institutions, think tanks, they were formed. These councils, advisory councils, all these things are formed, and they're never, ever for the benefit of the people. It's always to control the narrative, control the information, or whatever it may be. So I see this as a very similar type of thing. And I'm also noticing, and I don't know, maybe this is not, we're not allowed to say this without getting in trouble, Basil, but there is a particular national group that is behind almost all of this right now, whether it be the pastors having an emergency meeting, or Steven Spielberg himself, or the Avi Loeb and his, if you look up where he's from. So I don't know, there just seems to be this consistent theme going on with the nation that seems to be integrating with our military, with our data too. So I mean, I'm just saying, I'm looking at patterns. This is not an indictment on any person or any group of people or anything like that. I'm just noticing the patterns about this UFO thing. And then the other thing, really quickly.
One sec, Guns. I gotta do something that's gonna take me 45 seconds. So you keep going, but I'm gonna dip out for
45 seconds. All right. There he goes. Okay. Hey, he's using my okay. Anyway. All right. The Economic Times here. This was another big thing over the weekend, and I think this provides a glimpse for where we are culturally. Okay, this is man, it's just annoying. All right, this is the Economic Times for India. of course, if you are new with us, we like to take some of these stories from international outlets because post Smith-Mund Modernization Act in 2013, what the media will do is not necessarily report propaganda directly from the United States to its citizens. What they'll use is third-party nations so that they can say, oh, the Economic Times reported such and such instead of, the U.S. government or somebody. So the headline here, did Donald Trump secretly meet mysterious human-like aliens at the White House? Truth behind viral photos. And this went absolutely crazy on my timeline. I could not scroll over the weekend without seeing this photo. And the photo is of Donald Trump in the distance. It looks like somebody took this photo from behind the bushes at the White House or somewhere. Because you can see some of the bushes on the bottom of the image blurred, which means, it's kind of, there's a little bit of depth there. And it's Donald Trump talking to these two individuals. They both have long platinum hair. It's like white platinum-ish hair. They're wearing these red vests with gold trim. Very, I don't know, like vampire looking. They look like vampires. And their skin is very light, kind of a whitish, pale whitish skin. And one of them is about as tall as Donald Trump, and the other one's maybe a couple inches taller. So, I don't know, 6'5", 6'6", something like that in height that people are suggesting. But here's what the story is, okay? A series of viral images claiming to show U.S. President Donald Trump meeting mysterious human-like figures at the White House has sparked a wave of online speculation and conspiracy theories. The photos, widely shared across social media platforms, show Trump posing alongside three unusual-looking figures dressed in bright red outfits. The individuals appear to have long white hair, pale skin, and an otherworldly appearance, prompting some users to speculate that they could be extraterrestrials. And, of course, leading up to this crazy viral moment here had been the talks about the Nordics. The Nordics were really kind of making the rounds in the alien talk. Quote, a leaked photo of President Trump meeting with unknown figures is going viral as people try to figure out who they are, one popular conspiracy theorist posted on X while sharing the image. Another user wrote, quote, does anyone have any more information on these lizard people that Donald Trump was meeting at the White House today? End quote. A separate viral image appeared to show the same three figures standing alongside Chinese President Xi Jinping, adding further fuel to the online frenzy. Quote, Trump has been meeting with them privately to facilitate the transition into Hyperborea, another conspiracy-themed account claimed. Economic Times in India, they don't like to credit anybody officially over here. They just quote what they said. AI-generated images, not aliens. However, the viral claims were quickly debunked. I don't know if they were quickly debunked. I didn't see anybody other than Mario Nawfal talk about this. Entrepreneur and commentator Mario Nawfal clarified that the images were generated using artificial intelligence. According to Nawfal, journalist Jon Stewart shared an AI-created image showing Trump with, quote, three tall platinum-haired figures in red military jackets, jokingly suggesting that Trump had posted and then deleted the photos. Okay, so that's what Mario Nawfal claims. So here's the thing. So we got the screenshot of Jon Stewart, who, by the way, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Basil, Jon Stewart was one of the individuals who was part of the pastors are meeting, emergency meeting for the, pastors for the Christian thing with the disclosure. I believe he was I don't know if he was one of the pastors, but he was part of that conversation in a big way. This post, which has the photo in question here, and Jon Stewart's, this is not the Daily Show Jon Stewart, the Comedy Central Jon Stewart. This is a different guy. Posted, then immediately removed with the, inspecting emoji. That screenshot exists. That post is still on the internet. Like, his account still has it. I think it's got like 12 million impressions or something. It's just something crazy. But here's the thing. Did nobody get a screenshot of Trump actually posting this and then removing it? Because I have not seen a single screenshot. Usually when something like this happens, the screenshot gets around of, Trump's Truth Social, or if it's the White House account. The White House did a thing with I forget exactly which one they were campaigning for, But they did this post where they, showed a little bit of some. I don't think it was grainy footage. It was one of the workers holding a camera, kind of like, "Oh, we're getting ready to release the thing, the website or whatever," and then they deleted it right after, and it creates this Streisand effect. Everyone talking about it. Oh, why did the White House post it and then delete the video? Blah blah blah. I didn't see a single screenshot, an actual screenshot, not even a fake screenshot of Donald Trump posting this image of him talking to these allegedly tall vampire people.
Didn't even try. Didn't even
have to try. Quote, the conspiracy crowd instantly went full Nordic aliens lore. Memes are cooking the timeline. And I don't know if it was memes or people were being serious, but it went absolutely crazy viral. And, it's there's not much else to say other than, man, come on, guys. Like, did we not learn anything in the last 5-6 years? I know X, once it kind of turned over to the truth seekers, we're kind of susceptible to this type of thing, but man, no due diligence.
Yeah, it's the trick. Obama said, flood the zone. When there's something going on, you flood the zone with raw sewage, in his words. And then there's something in us all, Gons, that just wants to latch on to these sorts of things and spread them and talk about them for a sort of entertainment purpose. It's just sort of a fallen nature thing, right? We just want it to be, it's not even that we want it to be real. It's just we want to talk about it as if it is real. The sort of fallen part of our spirit craves these sorts of things.
Yeah. So I'm trying to figure out what Jon Stewart's role was in discussing the pastors having a secret meeting about the UFO disclosure topic a couple months ago, I guess now. Was that a couple months ago? Man, time is definitely a round, flat, circle, square.
Time is an illusion, baby.
And there was a post, because here's the thing. What, a month ago, didn't Trump post a picture of him walking with a tall gray alien in handcuffs as sort of a joke or whatever? So it wouldn't be that crazy to have Trump post some AI footage of something like this. But it's just one of those issues where I think it's, I don't know. If there was any confidence that was growing for the general truth-seeking community, it just kind of all crumbled down over the weekend.
It's hyper reality is what it is.
Hyper reality, yeah.
It's the hyper reality on the weekend of Disclosure Day, on the not just Disclosure Day, the movie, but also disclosing more UFO things. The hyper reality, we're sort of drawn to living in that. Our fallen nature is attracted to living in the hyper reality version of things. Than actually what's going on, which they're very good at taking advantage of.
Yeah, I know. I was very cynical. I was at least trying to ride the engagement on X, but I wasn't going to sit there and pretend like we figured out what was going on with this image here. I saw some peers and some colleagues, say they figured it all out and stuff, and
I think it's real.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I can't tell if they're trolling either, though. You know what I mean? I don't know if they're trolling and like, oh, we figured it out, and then they post an AI image of, alleged, Norwegian military or something, and it's like, I don't know if that's correct either. So, but they got a lot of engagement, so credit to them for that. But yeah, this is all like everyone's trolling now, and it's all a troll until it's not one of these times, I guess. But
we've got some other interesting cultural analysis to dive into. But before we do that, I think we should take a second and thank our executive producers.
Let's do it.
Woo! We're on the value for value model, folks. You know it, you love it. No advertisements, no corporations involved in keeping the show alive. Instead, we are at the whim of real human beings and the value they get in their lives from the show. And we all got to pitch in, keep the show alive with our time, talent, or treasure. And if you would like Canary Cry News Talk to exist on into the future, become a part of the team, produce the show. Again, with your time, you can help us out. If you got time on your hands, come on, baby, help us out with things. Run some back end process, work on some special projects. Talent, if you're an artist, a musician, whatever you do, you can create something for the show. Go to canarycry.art, upload it there, or treasure. If you got a couple bucks, if the Lord is blessing you, you got an opportunity to go to canarycry.support to learn more about it. Our executive producer. No,
Can't
you
say
were
that with my finger pulling the trigger on that one.
You did the right thing. Executive producers are people who produce the show for $100 or more for any individual episode. Big shout out to all of our monthly producers who have committed and continue to commit to support the show on a monthly basis. And whatever that dollar amount is for you, it doesn't matter. It's just the fact you click the button is heartwarming in itself. But of course, we have the one, the only executive producer, Sir Alex Protocol V2, Baron of the Brian Protocol. Comes in for $100 and 33 cents. Illuminatus! It's on a 494 episode. No, that's not right. 495 episodes streak. And a 149 executive producer streak.
Wow.
We also had a wonderful executive producership come in, and it's a instant knighthood for those who caught Thursday's Canary Cry Clubhouse. We had a wonderful caller, Sir Jacob, called in to tell us just an incredible testimony of his family and his son, Asher, who sadly passed away last year. But an anonymous knight of the Canary Cry Roundtable is supporting the show. And there's going to be a knighting for Asher. I forgot to mention, do we have time for a knighting today, Gons? Or
yeah.
Okay.
I think we have, yes.
Okay, so we're going to do a very special knighting for Asher today. For those who don't know what we're talking about, when you produce the show in the amount of $1,000 or more, this could be all at once, this could be over time. We have prepared a table for you, a very special chair here, where you become a knight or a dame of the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames. You get a knight name, you get a dame name, you get a protectorate, and everybody has to cheer and shout and sing when you go down the street. We're very grateful to all of our knights and dames, and they're very special to us and the rest of the Canarium. So we'll be doing a knighting probably in just a little bit here.
Okay.
What do you think? You want to do it here at this rate? The producership is pretty low. I could run through the rest of the list here.
Yeah, I mean, why don't we just thank the producers and then do it?
Okay, let's do it. Well, of course, I want to thank some producers who came in under the executive producer amount. It's very important. If you come in the amount of $7.77 or more, you're entitled to have a note read on the show. We have, let's see here, Rebecca T. Producer Rebecca T comes in for $33.33.
Rebecca T. Thank you.
Rebecca T. And by my count, Rebecca T is on a 32 episode streak, almost at eliminated.
Very close.
Streak. We also had producer Monica come in for $8.88.
Thank you, Monica. Appreciate you.
Now, Monica sent a text message to the Canary Cry text message of Knights and Dames, which I'm going to encourage people to join right now.
Wait, you said text message of Knights and Dames? There's a special.
What did I say?
You said a text message of the Roundtable of Knights and Dames. I mean, I think there maybe should be one, but I didn't know that there was one.
Sorry about that. My brain had a brain fart as I got kicked out of my service here. I was going to try to read the text, but I got kicked out. Now I got to sign in. I got to get a code sent to the email. But yes, the Canary Cry text message alert system. If you're not on it, get on it. text the word canary to 877-740-3226. You'll just get a text from me before every show, a couple times a week, 3 times a week, usually. And just to remind you that we're going live. And you can text that number. You can say hi. You can ask questions. I cannot text you back at that number because it's very expensive for us, but I get the messages and often read them on the show. Monica, who produced the show for $8.88, sent in a text message that I am pulling up right now so effectively and so smoothly. Where did it go? Dang it.
Captain Kirk is
here it is.
Doing his best. Okay, there he is. All right, go ahead.
Monica says, I don't expect this to be read on the air. I know it's long. I copied it from a prayer page in Discord, but I'm going to read it, Monica, and you can't stop me. So let's hit the producers, Guns.
Producers, assemble!
All right. Producer Monica says, can you please pray for my dad? His name is Tom. He has a rare autoimmune disease that causes a lot of terrible problems. He is deteriorating pretty rapidly. He's been struggling with terrible nosebleeds all week and having a hard time getting in to see a doctor. The stress this causes his blood pressure to rise even higher, which in turn increases the flow of blood. Stress is the worst thing for his body with his condition, and it can take weeks to recover from an episode like this. He needs a good doctor. He needs peace that can come only from the Lord, that he needs the mercy and grace above all. I have mentioned him on Clubhouse before, a good Catholic man who prays his rosary daily, sometimes more than once, very devout. I worry for his soul. I know I can't judge him. Only God can do that. But my flesh just is tormented by the thought of my dad not being in eternity. So if you're the praying type, can you please lift him up today? And my mom too, because she is the one trying to manage everything on her own. Her name is Lynn. Thank you, Monica. Okay, so we're praying. Producers out there, listen up. Say a little prayer now, write it down, pray later. Pray now and later. Tom and Lynn, we're praying for the health issues of Tom, of course, for just miraculous testimony producing healing in Tom, but also the strength for the family, especially with Lynn, and the comfort to descend upon everybody involved. That is always a very hard situation, and one that really requires in this life the participation of a sort of fellowship, everybody coming around, praying, getting involved. And I'm really requesting that people get on the prayer line here so we can hear, hopefully, prayerfully, an amazing testimony of healing for Tom. Thank you very much, Monica.
Yeah, thank you, Monica. Appreciate you.
Okay. That's it for the producers today. We got some people keeping their streaks going, but we'll thank them on Wednesday. We did have Malik. Producer Malik sent a song in over at canarycrysupplydrop. Do you want to give us a little taste of that?
It's not super ready, but I can make it ready.
Oh, sorry. No, he said canarycry.art didn't work for him, actually. So he
maybe the file is too big, but yeah.
It's
We got it.
You got it? He says, tried sending this through the art. This is a rough draft. Not technically show related, but art nonetheless. Okay, let's get a little taste of Malik's song here.
Heaven can I? Heaven can I? Tell me how you sleeping. Show me how to think, babe. 'Cause I don't like what I'm seeing. Guess I'm on side of your beacon. Steady, steady, but I'm sinking.
Malik.
I like it.
I had no idea Malik was a musician. Have we ever? I don't recall ever getting a song from Malik before. Thank you very much, Malik.
Thank you, Malik.
Trying to upload. I don't know why canarycry.art did not work, but appreciate that very much. We'll get a
Yep.
much more thorough listen of that later.
Yep. We'll definitely play it at the end. So stick around to hear the whole thing. Appreciate it.
Okay. I think that's it for producers for today, Gons. Do you have anything else you want to share or anything on your end of the radar here?
I don't think so. I think we're good to keep it pushing here.
Let us continue. Let's one of the interesting things, and I've been so annoyed. It's part of our responsibility, Gons. We feel it's part of our responsibility, not just to absorb the fire hose of news and then
Are we not doing the are we going to skip the nighting, or are we going to do it later?
Oh my gosh, no, let's do the nighting. The nighting's very important. Okay, so let's do a nighting here. Let's do it.
Okay, all right, so let's see here. I gotta actually get up and go get the thing that
get it.
Is oh gee, ow. Oh my goodness. Where's your thing?
Okay, let me find mine here. It's under all these movie tickets. Here it is. Okay, got it. All right. We want to honor Asher to the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames, where we have a seat for you. Thanks to Asher and his generous support, not only of the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames, but of the lives of Canarians everywhere. We are proud to pronounce you, Sir Asher, pure of heart, Knight of Thunder Oak. Please join us at the Canary Cry Roundtable, where we have the belt of truthful truthiness, breastplate of righteousness, chest and full Birkenstock to carry forth the gospel of peace, the shield of ferocious faith, the helmet of substantiating salvation, the supernatural sword of the spirit, and of course, adorable samurai babies, infinitely cute kitties for peddling. If you're hungry, we have fancy feast wet food, carved Cosmo the CRISPR cow, and of course, fried wormicorns. Welcome to the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames, Sir Asher, pure of heart, Knight of Thunder Oak.
All right.
Amen. Thank you to the unnamed, anonymous Knight of the Canary Cry Roundtable for providing what is needed tonight, Sir Asher. A big shout out to Sir Jacob Highline Haas, the father of Asher. And we just praise God for the time that Sir Asher had on this earth. And we hope that the whole Canarium remembers and appreciates what the whole family has meant to the Canarium. What do you say, Gons?
Yeah, we'll get to see him right up there in heaven. I'll be there.
Gonna be a blast. Okay. Yep. And with that, let's go ahead and jump into the news, Gons. Shall we?
Okay. Yeah, I think so. What's the jingle? Is there a jingle?
Oh, good question. I don't know if there is.
Leave the light on jingles and
re-enchantment. We could do a little re-enchantment jingle.
Okay. Let's see. Here we go. The Mary Poppins song, maybe. Yeah, there you go. It works.
It's Wednesday and we're here to do the Wednesday show. And sorry, introduces everything.
Strange helicopter noise just fly over the house here, it sounds.
Ooh, they heard your commentary and they needed to figure out who this googly-eyed man was.
Men in Black. There's even, it's interesting on Disclosure Day, there was like kind of a reference to the Men in Black, but without calling it the Men in Black, just as secret government organizations, blah, blah, blah. Keep an eye out for them. They're everywhere.
Yeah, of course.
But besides Alien Disclosure and the movie Disclosure Day and He-Man, the UFC fight at the White House is all anybody can talk about, right? And it's interesting because on this topic of public ritual, we of course are America's 250th birthday is this year, something Trump has been making quite a splash about, something that the mainstream media hates that Trump is making a splash about. There's also all sorts of very interesting shenanigans. I don't know how deep I can get into it sort of extemporaneously. But there's like several different organizations kind of obscuring the organizations that are putting on these various Happy Birthday America events this year. It's very strange. I'm kind of deep in the rabbit hole and trying to pick it all apart. But the one that just happened was the UFC fight at the White House. The bread and circus, Gons. It's happening.
I watched it. I'm not a huge UFC guy, but I was checking out the fights and checking out the whole setting, and definitely a interesting vibe. When Dana White and Trump walked out of the White House to kind of do their walk into the staged area, and immediately, and I don't know if this is like a punchline in the thing, but my immediate sort of feeling was, oh, this is Rome. This is gladiators in Rome at the Colosseum. That is
immediately.
It was. And yeah. I mean, it was very prominent. We already kind of had that feeling with
perceiving the world in symbols. Gons. That's a dangerous thing to do.
Well, okay. I guess I'm not allowed to do that anymore because I don't have a degree in the magical occult or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, that's the vibe I was getting. And there was one moment before we get into it, Basil, that I thought was hysterical. I don't have the clip. Should we play the clip? I can go find it while we're talking about it. It was about Michelle Obama right there on the White House lawn. Did you
yeah, I don't know. We can play it if you want. It is mentioned in this article.
Okay, great. Let's just go with the article.
Go look for it, and when it comes up in the article, we can watch it. But yeah, this is a very interesting thing. There's been a lot of drama with the events that Trump has. I don't even know what to call it, because it's not that Trump is putting it on. And it's not just that he's encouraging it. There's this kind of weird other third thing going on. But the imagery coming out of these events are pretty stark. In order to set up this octagon on the front lawn of the White House, they had to construct a gigantic, I don't know what to call it. They're calling it the claw. But how would
it's like
you
a mini half dome kind of thing going on.
Production scaffolding, right?
Yeah, it's like a super tent for an event, right?
Yeah,
it's like open and
something that could hold all the lights, and so they could have the lights and the lasers and all the equipment, and put on this big outdoor thing. But they constructed, they call it the claw, this giant kind of almost, it's got like an alien vibe to it. Like
people were saying it looks like a Stargate.
It looks like a Stargate.
That's only a certain angles.
Vibes. Of course, all the pictures have got the White House in it with this giant weird structure. I mean, it seems like it could definitely be some sort of cover up for, I don't know, some Stargate construction project or something. It's weird, but at least on the level of symbology and I don't know, ritual ceremony, it's a pretty big deal. It's bizarre. Do you know the number? I don't know if they say here, but the number of people that were at attendance of this thing?
I can look it up. Let's see real quick. Let's see if we can get that number. Let's.
I mean, it doesn't really matter, but
I know. I'm looking at it. I'm gonna guess it's gonna be like 2,000 or something. Maybe one. Maybe it's
a couple thousand. And the media images. I mean, they had fighters. Their walk-ins where they walk into the thing, starting in the Oval Office. Walking through the White House, like they really
insane, man. It was
grounds of the White House as a stage. I mean, not like the White House has never been used as a stage for theater or ritual before, but it was interesting in this context. But it did have people really riled up in all sorts of ways, and especially because we are in the age of reenchantment. There's an unstoppable tide, no matter who you are, no matter what you believe, an unstoppable tide in the sort of human understanding of the universe that something else is going on. And we are seeing this reflected in not just the mainstream media news, but in the culture crafting mechanisms like the Atlantic magazine. And I thought this was a pretty fascinating article that I would like to read through here, Gons, in the context of everything I just laid out. The headline is the headline now is "The Theory That Explains Trump's UFC Fight." Originally, the headline was "The French Theory That Explains UFC Fight," and they changed the headline and they just took the word French out of it.
The French were angry.
Somebody
They got
got a
mad.
call and said, you got to take the word French out of this headline for some reason.
4,300 people attended, main event, invite only. So yeah, there you go. That's a good amount.
In this world where meaning is being drained from everybody's lives, and they're waking up to the fact that humankind is more than what they've been told, and they're in search for meaning. Many people are searching for meaning through Christianity and other religions, but spirituality as a whole. But of course, the mainstream media has to try to develop directions, develop pathways to try to divert as many people as far away from the gospel as possible. And so here's the Atlantic taking a stab at it. Bo Nickel, who apparently is a fighter, Bo Nickel, his face shiny with Vaseline, had just finished pounding the nose and eyes and ears of his opponent. Now, keep in mind, this is the Atlantic, a sort of leftist, it's got this although very barbed intellectually, this is very cultured, okay, very civilized. There's no barbarians at the Atlantic. Indeed, you could see in this image of bread and circus in Rome, a sort of intellectual among marble pillars wearing weird robes of some kind, writing this down for the history books. Bo Nickel, his face shiny with Vaseline, had just finished pounding the nose and eyes of his opponent, Kyle Dukas, who lay on his back like an overturned squashed bug. Immediately, Nickel jumped over the edge of the octagon and landed just in front of Donald Trump, who stood up and grabbed the fighter's hand, still panting. Nickel thanked the president, quote, "This wouldn't be possible without you." So ended the second bout of last night's UFC 250, the extravaganza of squirting blood and patriotic kitsch that took place to the stupefaction of all, including a giddy Joe Rogan on the south lawn of the White House. Now, squirting blood and patriotic kitsch. Kitsch is an interesting word to use here, because what I was describing at the top of the show with sort of condensed Spielberg Hollywood symbolism, like Spielberg is considered very Hollywood kitsch, right? It's kitsch. There's a lot of different definitions for kitsch. I don't know if we want to dive into like Merriam-Webster or anything, but it alludes to the world of symbolism that we live in. A little corny, a little symbolic, a little not cool, but cool in a sort of an ironic way. So talking about patriotism basically as showmanship, as symbolism. Tacky is another, So tacky is a piece of what's needed in kitsch. All of this was pure distilled Trump. Okay, here we go.
Distilled Trump. I like it.
Trump. No previous, it's the Atlantic. What are you going to do? No previous American leader could plausibly have presided over the scene of a tattooed Brazilian fighter in black cowboy hat and lycra shorts running out of the White House, saluted by honor guards the intent of pulverizing another human being. He had built an octagon on the lawn in part, surely, to troll his opponents, as he so often does. But what I saw in the fighting itself, okay, what I, the author here at the Atlantic, what I saw in the fighting itself, in fight after fight after fight, 7 in all, was an an affirmative expression of Trump's favorite kind of storyline: dominance and submission. This was not just a political stunt, but the best way he could imagine spending his 80th birthday. So, of course, it must all be centered around Trump, sort of the Mad King, and the whims of the Mad King, but also sort of talking in this language of violence, this language of power, but also this language of showmanship, of theater, things like that.
Mhm.
Other presidents have used stagecraft to project their worldviews. Yeah, no kidding. Duh. Ronald Reagan was an acknowledged genius at this, or rather, his main image manager, Michael Deaver, was. Reagan would give speeches positioned so that the Statue of Liberty or the Berlin Wall was perfectly framed in the background. Now, what the Atlantic is pointing out here is that ceremonial, ritual, symbolic public display that we've been talking about. And they're without, they kind of have to say like, oh, Trump is special in this way, but he's also not special because Reagan did it. But there's this affirmation of symbolism and sort of the magic of displays of power. Again, which is part of the longer, more in-depth conversation when it comes to bread and circus in Rome. Very powerful tool of the elite. Any comments so far?
No. I think it's pretty straightforward.
Let's see here. Reagan would give speeches positioned so that the Statue of Liberty or Berlin Wall was perfectly framed in the background. The idea was that Reagan would borrow from the symbolic power of these places. Trump has the same Hollywood instincts, but in the tableau he created last night, he was not using the White House to elevate himself. Rather, he was swallowing it whole. What? Okay. The 600-ton star-spangled claw, which looked like it was about to pick up the White House like a stuffed animal in an arcade game, was meant to convey dominance. So was the scene that preceded the main bout. Yes, Trump is dominating the White House. The UFC fight is a symbol of Trump swallowing the White House whole.
I kind of like the claw reference. This is sort of reminiscent of the early YouTube days when we read meaning into everything symbolically. And I mean, a giant claw, like like the arcade game thingies at the bowling alley. Not the arcade, but the little machine where you can get the stuffies out of. Really. Yeah, the arcade has them too. But yeah, I like the idea of trying to connect Trump's dominance or like his whatever.
He's a child who paid money.
He's just at an arcade trying to push his dominance on everybody with a giant claw, as if he designed that whole apparatus. Like he said, I want a claw. I want a big claw like those games.
His idea,
just
not like hilarious. A product that took $100 million
engineering, right? Like all these architects and engineers to come up with to ensure nobody dies from like a collapse of a little building. But no, this is Trump in pushing his dominance on the Atlantic. You got to give it to him.
But they're working in this realm, right? So they are. They're speaking to their readers in the realm of symbology in a blatant way that they don't usually do, right?
Yeah, or they haven't before. Now they
haven't before. This article could only be effective in the age of reenchantment, where everybody is already sort of experiencing this reenchantment, whether they're waking up to symbolism or it could be in the sort of psychoanalytic, like Carl Jung sense, or a more spiritual sense, something like that. So we're seeing this bleed onto the pages of the mainstream media. So was the scene that preceded the main bout, in which both fighters began their walks to the ring from the Oval Office, looking up at a copy of the Declaration of Independence. Only the president could allow the seat of American power and the founding document to be used this way. And perhaps that was the point. So they're saying even nobody could do this, could let the Declaration of Independence. Now, they're kind of talking about it as if the Declaration of Independence that's hanging in the Oval Office is like the Declaration of Independence, which I don't think it is. I could be wrong, but now we're talking about magical items, right? The economy of magical artifacts. That again, whether you believe it or not, whatever, this is the language that he is building his case in the mainstream media.
Yep.
But that Trump, the sort of chaos magician, in the words of Marina Abramovich, is now sort of wielding these magical occult things in public for the purposes of power, which used to be just like a weird thing that we would say on this show.
Right. Yes.
And not be printed in the Atlantic.
Yeah.
The French theorist, there it is, French. Oh, the French. The French theorist Roland, I don't know how to say this. I'm going to call him Barthes. Roland Barthes. The French theorist Roland Barthes captured the symbolic meaning of all this perfectly in his 1957 collection, Mythologies, when he described the spectacle of excess. In the book, now considered the text of cultural criticism, I don't know what text means. UR-text. It seems to be some sort of phrase in academia that means, maybe some sort of very special, maybe canon. Maybe it means canon.
Yeah, I thought it might have meant like the city of but
right. It's got
I'm
this
thinking
like
biblical.
ancient, city of kind of. Again, the language reminds me of, and I could be wrong, but if I were to start researching live here on the show, I would text sends me down a path of like Egyptian mythology or something.
Here we go. Text is a German-derived term meaning original text or primordial text.
Primordial text.
Yeah, okay. Is a German prefix for original, primitive, or proto. It refers to the earliest, foundational, or most authentic version of a text, score, or work. So there you go. You get the music, the text edition are scholarly scores that aim to present the composer's work exactly as intended. So,
all right.
Like the OG, the OG, the
seminal text, the primordial,
the proto-text, the primordial,
In the book, now considered the text of cultural criticism, Barthes picked apart some very taken for granted elements of our world. Now, this is a very subtle thing. The taken for granted elements of our world. This is specifically what we're talking about in the world of symbolism. When I say that Steven Spielberg is the high sorcerer of Hollywood, who's responsible for crafting the symbols that we see in culture and understand stories by, this is kind of what I'm talking about. These things that we take for granted, elements of our world, such as soap powders, steak and chips, and citrines. I don't exactly know. I think
you know what this is. We are clearly not in the class of this. Whoever this author
is. That's what I mean.
We're not in their milieu because we're not understanding like half the words they're using.
They are elevating the language and the vocabulary. I read at least 80 articles a week of mainstream media. Many of those are The Atlantic. And there is this shift recently to, much like how I talk about how the law and like legal documents are written and formatted in a form of a grimoire, right? Sort of medieval magical texts. We see that reflected in legal texts. There's something weird starting to shift in the mainstream media and the language that they use. But most enduring was his essay on professional wrestling. And this dinged in my head because of the beginning of Disclosure Day, starting with professional
Of course.
wrestling.
Yeah.
Of course, connecting it to UFC here. And now we're talking about a French theorist from the 50s and his essay on professional wrestling. Here we go. This show just keeps getting more archaic and esoteric. If it were possible for this show to get any more esoteric.
Well, it's not our fault. It's the Atlantic taking what we've been saying about kayfabe and the entire comparing Trump and just politics in general to this idea of constructed symbolism, and they're just adding another sort of reference point to talk about it. The French theorists rolling baths
for the masses, shifting the language into like esoteric, archaic, sort of magical language.
Have you considered Barth's view of the symbology?
He saw it alongside bullfighting and Greek tragedy as an entertainment that both reduces the human passions to their basic elements, rage, pleasure, and the like, and then blows them up larger than life. These were, quote, great solar spectacles. Just the most esoteric language possible. Because they typically took place outside. Like
okay.
All
right, good.
As if a roof couldn't contain all that huge feeling. In the Plaza de Toro, the ancient amphitheater, and I would add the UFC White House octagon, quote, a light without shadow elaborates an emotion without secrets, as Barthes writes. I am aware that bringing a French structuralist to a cage fight borders on self-parody, yet the essay really feels like a key that unlocks this baffling and historic event. Barthes was dissecting professional wrestling. With its heroes and heels, its obvious theater, Trump's appreciation for and emulation of the histrionics of that sport have been much discussed over the years. Recall how the late Hulk Hogan ripped off his shirt to shreds at the 2024 Republican National Convention to reveal a Trump Vance t-shirt underneath. And what the Atlantic is way too fancy and learned to also mention here, but something that the internet has made a connection to, a much more sort of relatable reference, is the movie Idiocracy, where the movie Idiocracy included the president of America in the movie being a pro wrestler and doing politics through pro wrestling. Again, a sort of reflection of the same symbols, in this case, going back to a French structural theorist from the 1950s talking about pro wrestling, to Idiocracy, which was made in 2009 or something like that, I forget, all the way to this Atlantic article reference, of course, about the UFC thing this weekend. We see this sort of eternal truth of symbols being wielded in the media. Let's see here. Mixed martial arts is something different, more real and more violent. It became legal only in 2016, a few months before Trump won the presidency. So the Atlantic is connecting this symbol, if you will, of UFC, of blood sport, becoming legal at the exact same time as Trump beginning his first presidency. So Trump and the blood sport of UFC inextricably linked, closing the gap in the readers' minds between sort of politics and blood sport and symbol and combat and this sort of thing. But Bart's, and just keep in mind, what does this do to culture when this becomes the language in which mass popular culture starts getting the news? But Bart's reflections apply here even more than they do to world wrestling entertainment. Wrestling to him is the, quote, draining of interiority in favor of external signs, this exhaustion of content by form. Spoken like a true French philosopher, a bunch of gobbledygook. But what he's saying is wrestling is more about the superficial. We do away with our feelings and our thoughts, and they're sort of spilled out, laid bare by this theatrical violence. Instead of being a French thinky kind of guy, you do wrestling and it's trying to draw the comparison there. In other words, all is on the surface, and nuance is banished like a foot slammed to the solar plexus. What struck me about the UFC fights was the anticipation of blood and waiting for the final moment when one man would be at the complete mercy of another, and only the referee's call could stand between the loser and death. Quote, "What is thus given to the public is the great spectacle of suffering, of defeat, of justice," Bartz writes. The emotions are presented with, quote, "all the amplification of the tragic masks." Admittedly, a obscure reference, but talking about in early Greek theater, characters would wear masks, and it's connected to Janus, the sort of Greek god of theater.
Oh, you mean like the Dark Knight?
If you're working alone,
very
wear a mask. The mask's not for you. It's to protect the people you care about.
And also very similar to COVID. And now we're getting sort of heavy. Okay, I'm sorry to get so heady on everybody, but please bear with me. I feel like we've been moving in this direction on this show for a while, so I feel like everybody can come with me. Okay, the writer here not only is talking pro wrestling, not only is talking combat, the sort of theatrical ritual value of blood sport in public for the masses, but also references to I in recent weeks gave the history of theater, and I talk about Masonic rituals being like children's plays, and that's where the power comes from, because plays originally, going back to movies, come from plays, and plays originally in their original form were rituals. Where the god Janus, symbolized by two masks, the actors would play the part of a deity, or they would play the part of a character in a ritual. And a play was not just for entertainment, but it had some deep spiritual communal purpose that was used for a lot of things, but is also present with us today in this sort of very now explicit, thanks to The Atlantic, explicit sort of occult ritualistic nature of our entertainment today, as we also see in the He-Man movie. Quote, "What is thus given to the public is the great spectacle of suffering, of defeat, of justice," end quote. Bartz writes, "The emotions are presented with, quote, all the amplification of tragic masks. In professional wrestling, the fallen fighter plays his role. In MMA, the shock is real and so is the fall. But in both cases, the crowd waits for the fighter to produce that face of suffering. Quote, like a primitive Pieta, he allows us to see his face exaggeratedly distorted by an intolerable affliction," which is all a bunch of fancy words to refer to the play sacrifice that often is apparent and present in these quote unquote entertainment pieces or rituals. If you watch the funky Masonic, local Masonic lodges, there's all sorts of play sacrifices done. In the Bohemian Grove, of course, they claim that the sacrifice was an effigy and not a real person. But even by that standard, we're talking about ritual sacrifice. And The Atlantic, who told you to vote for Kamala Harris, is out here divulging the secrets of the occult leadership of this country, comparing this UFC fight to a sort of ritualistic sacrificial display for the country. Thank you, Trump. The kind of fighting of entertainment seen on the South Lawn yesterday still speaks to what Bartz was observing. Even though the action is revoltingly real, the fighters seem almost interchangeable, cookie cutter, and therefore even more archetypal. Which is an interesting differentiation. If I was going to take 3 hours to really meander on this topic, when we're talking about the difference between like pro wrestling and UFC, because one might be tempted to be like, no, this isn't that, right? Trump doing UFC is not Idiocracy president doing pro wrestling or whatever. But it is when you're talking on this sort of archetypal occult level, it is. And in wrestling, where every wrestler has its own character, right? They all have their own costume, they all have their own attitude, their own personality. They try to distinguish themselves from each other. What this esoteric writer from the Atlantic is saying here is like, actually UFC is even more archetypal because these fighters are sort of interchangeable in a way. That it goes on. Some seem meaner than others or more obscene, like Josh Hokett, who yelled from the center of the ring, again, feet away from the White House, quote, "Michelle Obama is a man. Am I right, America?"
I thought that was a great moment for America.
That's one of the clips going around.
One of the clips.
To my admittedly untrained eye, every fight reproduced the same drama, no matter the combatants. Now, so what the author is saying here is, remember, there were 7 bouts. There were 7 fights. And in the context of what the author is saying here, is they're saying Trump put on 7 ritualistic sacrifices on the lawn of the White House. Now, it's one thing for me, googly-eyed weirdo on the internet, to speak in those terms, but it's another thing for the Atlantic too. Or, every fight reproduced the same drama, no matter the combatants or even how skilled they were. There is surely technique to what they do, but every knockout moment brought the same climactic scramble of life and death, slipping around in sweat and blood, grappling with each other on the ground like 2 creatures fighting over the last crust of bread in the world. What matters is the revelation of those emotions. Quote, "I'll do whatever it takes," Steve Garcia said just before the fight he lost. Quote, "I'll break every bone in his body." Trump usually operates at this register. Either he is going to annihilate Iran completely, quote, "A whole civilization will die tonight," end quote, or he is announcing that he just brought everlasting peace to the region. They don't do a quote here, but you could almost quote from the Bible about the Antichrist bringing peace to the Middle East, as he did yesterday with a new, though still tenuous, ceasefire agreement. Particularly, so interestingly enough, he's making the correlation here, though not saying it directly, is that Trump seems to have put on 7 ritual sacrifices on the lawn of the White House the same day he comes out with what he wants us to believe is the ceasefire, end of the war sort of agreement. Now, we'll see if that holds, particularly when it comes to the Iran, but perhaps this one may hold because of the 7 ritual sacrifices. I don't know. Interesting things going on here. Particularly when it comes to the Iran war, toggling between these extremes has become another kind of exhausting spectacle of excess. He knows no subtlety. For him, as for an MMA fighter, it is either kill or be killed. By staging these fights so close to the seat of executive power, Trump is putting on a show that is also meant to demonstrate what being president means to him. The office might be oval, he is saying, but it is his octagon.
Good job. Good job with all the. He probably was very proud of that one. Or AI came up with it, and he took it from AI.
I had hoped that even a UFC fight, we might see displays of power that would suggest other possibilities beyond face pounding. Here comes the civilized part of the Atlantic. Okay, very academic, but he's civilized. But it is these violent pleasures are below him. The Atlantic. I had hoped that even in a UFC fight, listen to what he's saying. I had hoped in a UFC fight. Okay, so he's hoping about the UFC fight. We might see displays of power that would suggest other possibilities beyond face pounding. oh, I had hoped at this UFC fight that perhaps they
What
would have
is he
done a
talking
thumb
about?
war, or maybe they would have done a rap battle. I was
Yeah,
hoping
what
this UFC fight would not have been so violent. Oh,
what is
cool.
man,
I mean,
what
talk
is
about
wrong with these
theater. The
people?
theater of it all is just beautiful.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the part that is hilarious about this is that they're calling out the theater of the whole Trump thing and the UFC and all this, but they themselves are being extremely dramatic about it.
Virtue
Like it's their
signaling.
own
This
theater.
virtue, he's virtue signaling in an amazing new way, in an incredible new way that is only possible in the age of reenchantment that we have just stepped into, in that he's saying with a straight face to all of his readers, as he is academically learning them something about a French philosopher and the nature of ritual combat, and says, I had hoped at this UFC fight that there wouldn't be so much punching. Thank you. You must be such a good guy over at I'd heard about a 2024 bantamweight title fight in which a Georgian fighter named Murad Dvalishvili shocked his opponent by kissing his head repeatedly and went on to win his match. In another notorious battle, also in 2024, Mason Lewis was caught in a hold, apparently called a reverse triangle, in which his head was squeezed between Tim Fargo's thighs like a watermelon in a vice. He responded by gently tickling the bottom of Fargo's foot, forcing his release. I couldn't break the lock with one hand, Mason later said, quote, and I knew people are ticklish, so people let go. So I figured if I tickled his foot, he might let go. The Atlantic writer is sitting here going, well, I heard once somebody tickled each other in a UFC fight, and boy, oh boy, wouldn't it have been much more patriotic for this ritual sacrifice combat ritual have been more of a tickle fight, or these fighters
tickle fight and kissing. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
This is what we really need in America. I, leftist author of the Atlantic, would like to stage a ritual kissing tickle fight on the White House lawn. Aren't I so civilized and cool? It's just so bizarre. And we're almost done, by the way. This is the end of the article, last paragraph. But there was no kissing or tickling last night. Oh, but alas, there was no kissing or tickling last night. No exposition of the artful ways that one can sneakily overtake an opponent through charm or surprise. Not a single. This is why they had to take the word French out of the headline.
Yeah, they did. The French probably read it and was like, we will not have any part of this.
And then talk about how you wish that the fighters would have kissed and tickled each other at the UFC fight in the Atlantic magazine. What the heck are you talking about? Not a single one of these 7 fights was even won on points. They all resulted in one man's rage and another man's pain and humiliation. As if the kissing and the tickling would not have been humiliating enough. The punching was so humiliating. That was the whole story. The only one that mattered to the 80-year-old man taking it all in from the edge of the ring.
Yeah,
end of article.
Landed on an anti-Trump.
This is what we're moving into, Gons, and I fear, I praise God that our show is so weird that we could develop, at least over a period of weeks, the privilege of reading this article and analyzing it on a truly, I think, true foundation for a meta-analysis of the culture that we're swimming in during this transformational period. Because I listen to a lot of different news podcasts, and there is no way on God's green earth that anybody else would touch this crazy, ludicrous, esoteric, spellbinding article of the Atlantic, ushering in their audience into the age of reenchantment in a very clever way, very internalizing, very cerebral, much like Disclosure Day. Certainly not like He-Man. This is like Disclosure Day. This guy went and saw Disclosure Day, and no, this guy went and saw He-Man and said, I wish it was more Spielbergian.
Spielbergy, yeah. I think it's even worse than that. But yeah, you know what's funny? You know how Mark Zuckerberg is doing UFC? It's all starting to make a little.
He's training. He's not
training,
fighting,
or
right?
He's not training. He's not fighting anybody. But
now, yeah,
he is training. But it's all starting to kind of make sense to me.
Who should we tickle next?
I am not a lizard.
Yes.
I think we made a connection. I think we figured it out here. And this is you're right. We're the only show that would connect Mark Zuckerberg's tickling clip with
and
UFC
the only show
in
which the mainstream media presenting this event, like, without this article, we here on this show would have talked about how the UFC fight 7 bouts of ritual sacrifice on the lawn of the White House, blah blah blah, right? We would have done the whole thing. But to have it written up in the Atlantic, the sort of bastion of liberal leftist, maybe the one of the mainstream culture crafting mechanisms most at risk by the age of reenchantment, most at risk by people realizing that the materialist worldview is insufficient and untrue, and that a spiritual reality exists, right? The Atlantic is most at risk at this time. And so their response is to come in and explain the magical occult significance of what's going on. Of course, they have to put it in the language of a French philosopher, because they couldn't admit that there's sort of spiritual things going on. But I think it's very interesting development in where we are today, and the way that the mainstream media is going to have to move. We're going to see this happening. And the Atlantic would be the first, the one brave enough to start adjusting in this way. It's really going to be trippy when like CNN starts talking like this.
Yeah. Speaking of the mainstream verifying things for us, that would be the case if if CNN starts talking all weird.
Totally.
Well, not that they don't now, but at least now it's this is like next level. This is gaslighting and wokeness all put together in a way that it's just a level up for them, for
it's like
this
archetypal woke or woke or esoteric woke. I mean, he's literally saying, I wish the UFC fighters would hugged and kissed and tickled each other. Like that
while still fighting, though, not to like make up, or no, like the fighting is kissing and hugging and tickling.
Combat by tickles and kisses. That should have been the show title, is Combat by Tickles and Kisses. Which is so, again, I don't even think that the editor or the article or the Atlantic understands just how like cosmically revealing it is. That they're talking about the UFC fight, revealing these supernatural esoteric elements of the 7 rituals for sacrifices, and then saying, well, we're still the Atlantic, so we wish their combat would have had more kissing and cuddling. Right? Like it's so intrinsically spiritually true that I don't even think they see it for what it is. It's hilarious. It's great.
Yeah. Well, I'm surprised not other people are picking up on this. I mean, the conservative and the right wing, they should be all over this thing. I mean, this is like easy. This is like low hanging fruit for the conservative crowd.
Just if you haven't spent the last 15 years adjusting yourself to seeing reality in this way, it's really hard. It's going to be really hard.
Yeah. Well, there's other people seeing reality in a different way, through the eyes of the glorified. What's my jingle? I'm trying to find my jingle. What is this? I've lost my spot on the document.
It's okay.
This is so startling to me that I've lost my composure about where I am.
I'm glad. I'm happy. I'm happy that I could throw you off like this. That's how you know it's going to be a good show.
You definitely rattled my cage. I'll tell you that. Let's see. Sure.
I think these next 2 ones, I was going to say, I'm looking at the time here, actually. The Pharmakeia I can summarize, so I'm okay
Okay.
just zooming through these here. I'm seeing where we are.
They're going to probably try and rattle her cage a little bit more.
Let's see. You know what? I think this is probably more appropriate. Here we go. Oh, wait a minute. Oh no, that's a Canary Cry .tube jingle that we haven't played in a really long time. That's not it.
That's okay. Let's jump into the news here.
And I will. Hold on. Here we go.
Canary in the coal mine.
There we go. That's what I was looking for. Okay. All right. So this is coming from the New York Post. And the headline here is Ridiculous Restoration Job Turns Religious Statues into Googly-eyed Caricatures.
Oh, of course.
And instant tourist attraction. Look at that. Look at what the googly eyes does for these people here. A disastrous restoration job on religious statues in Brazil left the Holy Family looking like ridiculous cartoons. And the botched spruce up was so bad that it became an instant tourist attraction. The absurd changes turned Jesus, Mary, and other religious figures in the public square in Carmo do Cahura into googly-eyed caricatures with thick arched eyebrows and bright red lips, outraging locals who found the spectacle disrespectful, according to Jam Press. But out-of-towners flocked to the town, with about 250,000 of them there to laugh or pray around the site. And here we have an example for those of you watching. How would you describe the paint job here? This is
yeah, well, it's not good.
It's definitely not good.
I there's got to be more to this story. So you see a lot of this, of course, sort of religious statues. You see this everywhere. Europe, notably, mostly carves them out of marble and things, but you see a lot in Latin America, sort of plaster and cement versions of these statues. And yeah, apparently this quote unquote restoration, somebody was brought in to paint these white statues, and the painter, it's like a third grader playing with his mother's makeup, is what I'd say.
So right. So if you have for those of you just listening, if you take like a normal marble or like white ivory or whatever statue of a face, like a normal humanoid face, not humanoid, a human face. Imagine really, really thick eyebrows. And then if the eyes were closed, imagine drawing like thick ridges around the closed eyes, and then
very thick eyeliner with no eyelids.
With no eyelids, right.
Bulging eyeballs, no eyelids, with very thick eyeliner.
With the blue iris and the pupil there, and then like red, very, very bright red lipstick. So a couple things come to mind here. First off, the first thought I had, first of all, the fact that New York Times used googly eyes is, of course, we are. My post on X was, look, we're fighting this spiritual battle that, it's not on the front lines where everyone can see it. It's this sort of narrative, obscure meta war that we're fighting, especially as Canarians here. And of course, Basil's been sporting the googly eyes for a long time. We saw it in movies, and now we're seeing it mocking religious monument.
Interestingly enough, over the years, people send me every new googly eye story that comes out for many years.
Googly eye experts now. Yeah,
it's true. It's one of my strengths. And over the past couple of years, there's been a spree in America of various cities who have statues and things around. I guess vandals, they will be called. Vandals will put the sticky actual googly eye product, the googly eye craft object, onto statues. And they're not always people. Sometimes they're just shapes or weird things. And, it's humorous. The internet loves it. Usually the cities are like, will throw people in jail or charge them $15,000 or something for doing this. The law takes this very seriously. But this is one of the first times that I've seen it on, in Latin America, they take their religious statues very seriously, much more seriously than America does.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Is this similar to, is this Catholic statues, or
yeah,
is this?
probably, most likely.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. For South America, I know there's a large Catholic contingency there. So that the first thing I thought of was the googly eye thing, but immediately afterward, I thought, okay, and I'm looking at this image and I'm thinking back to the Genesis 6 and the Watchers story. And one of the things the Watchers taught mankind was to beautify the eyelids and put on
Oh,
makeup and all this kind of stuff. So I thought of that too, as like, oh, interesting. Maybe there's like in the spiritual realm, there's, the Watchers are mocking or something, that sort of thing. But the other thing that came to mind was, and this particular one I'm showing on the screen right now with the blue iris and kind of the really wide eyes, immediately I was reminded of the ancient Sumerian little statues, which I'm showing now on screen. And so according to the archaeologists, okay, they claim that the reason why these statues from ancient Sumerian times of these individuals, the reason why they had such large eyes was to represent awareness of the spirit realm, or being able to see and be aware of, more than what meets the eye kind of thing.
Yeah,
And the
they're
fact that
blue eyes too, where in
right.
the Middle East, in the Sumerian Middle East, the blue eyes would not be very common. So to paint
No.
big blue eyes on a statue was sort of a symbol of spiritual sight.
Spiritual sight, and yes, being able to see into other realms, or being able to see the gods or communicate with the gods or something to that effect. So it was just strange to me that this statue looked so much like it. Some commentators have suggested that the reason why their eyes are so big is because of the fact that it somewhat represents the fall. Their eyes were opened, they understood good and evil type thing.
Right. Yeah.
So, eating of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, that
school, very
mystery school. Yeah, mystery school. And for the mystery school, this is a good thing. This wasn't a fall like the Christian version of it, or the Christian mythology, if you want to call it. Don't be offended by the word mythology, by the way. I'm just using that in the scholarly sense here. But through an awakening process, or of course Lucifer freeing Adam and Eve from the garden, and not forcing them, but encouraging them to eat from the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, so that they can see more clearly what reality is, kind of thing. So it's just an interesting rabbit hole to go down. But and then I go back to the other one, the vandalism one, and it's definitely not done with the kind of care. The vandalism looks more like just somebody angry at Christianity, like, oh, I'm gonna, the restoration guy, was abused by a pastor or something, now he's getting him back or something, and he's decided to do this. So I mean, it's really not much of a story, but it's it was enough for the New York Post to write about it, because right now spiritual, religious, Christian stories are getting traction. People are interested in I guess Christianity as a generality, and it's in parallel with this whole reenchantment thing. And like we talked about in the last few episodes, there does seem to be a cultural race to cover some new real estate with this brand of reenchantment, whether it's coming from a new age secular type of reenchantment, or a more religious, you can call it Christian, I guess, reenchantment, or like a new agey reenchantment. There's different types. But a lot of it seems to be in the context of bringing back and reactivating our core of who we are, and why we're here, and meaning and purpose, and those types of things that are a little bit more philosophical and spiritual. And of course, it comes at a time after the post-enlightenment period, when a lot of that philosophically have failed, other than some great technology, I suppose, in terms of purpose and meaning, has not done a very good job in providing such things to the population. So there seems to be a race right now to place that type of meaning into all kinds of things. And when it comes to, an outrage obviously is a click clickable thing. So you're immediately going to get clicks if you're talking about religious statues getting, you know, vandalized for one purpose or another. But yeah, the googly eye thing I thought was very interesting. I'm always looking for googly eyes in the headlines for obvious reasons. So, you know, it's anytime I see it in there, and of course having to do with religious symbolism. I mean, we find ourselves in the thick of it, Basil, but we don't even try to be in it. You know, we're just kind
always do
moving along, and then here we are, kind of thrown into it. So,
speaking of the sort of search for meaning and the reenchantment and the methods through which that is becoming so popular or expressing itself in popular culture, quick Pharmakeia story here.
Ah, yes. Okay, we're moving on. All right, let's see. Hold on, I was not prepared to move on. But here we go. Let's see. Boom.
ScienceAlert.com. Huge psilocybin dose has incredible effect on elderly dementia patients. Now, Pharmakeia, we've talked about this for a long time. Of course, the word that we get pharmacy from, or pharmaceutical in English, but also in the ancient languages of the Bible, reflects meanings closer to magic or sorcery, these sorts of things. And, you know, psychedelics, of course, a big technology. Some would consider it a spiritual technology these days in the age of reenchantment. But the science, an interesting example of the science actually catching up to the age of reenchantment, or sort of merging in this way, in the same way that science in the ancient world, in the biblical world, were sort of intertwined. Science was sort of this almost a type of pharmakeia, so an inspiration of the Watchers to find a way to affect the known world outside of the will of God. But, of course, in today's world, it's always about healing somebody medically. It says here, dementia is a degenerative disease that no known drug can completely stop or reverse, despite decades of tests. Now, a historically vilified psychedelic is emerging as a possible new avenue for controlling Alzheimer's symptoms. Neuroscientists around the world are starting to investigate if psilocybin, the psychoactive ingredient in magic mushrooms, can help protect the aging brain. A recent case study in Brazil hints that at that tantalizing possibility. It reports that after a patient in her 80s with advanced Alzheimer's disease took a high dose of psilocybin-containing mushrooms, she temporarily regained bladder control and the ability to speak beyond monosyllables. The paper, written by neuroscientists in Brazil, is unfortunately light on some of the details, but it suggests there was meaningful improvements in the patient's cognitive and physical functions, lasting for several weeks after her doses. Quote, the findings should not be interpreted as a reversal of Alzheimer's pathology, warned the authors, led by neuroscientist Marcos Lago from the University of Sao Paulo. Quote, rather, they raise the possibility that latent functional capacities may persist in advanced neurodegeneration and become temporarily accessible under specific neuromodulatory conditions. A fancy neuroscientist way of saying, we gave this old lady a ton of mushrooms and she became normal for a little while, which is weird. In other words, psilocybin may help tap into brain regions impacted by dementia, temporarily elevating or alleviating symptoms, although that idea remains speculative. The experimental psilocybin treatment was conducted under clinical supervision in Brazil with written informed consent from the parent's legal guardian. The elderly woman with dementia was first treated with an incredibly high dose of 5 grams of psilocybin-containing mushrooms, which caused her to enter a prolonged deep sleep. Hey, now, yes, we've talked about the 5 milligram dose, the heroic dose. Most recently, we talked about this in the context of Brian Johnson, the very rich man trying to live forever, who took psychedelics live on stream. And we talked all about that.
Granny going on a trip.
The strangest thing here is that they gave this woman with dementia a humongous dose of psilocybin mushrooms, and she fell asleep for 19 hours.
Okay.
For
Yeah.
anybody who's had any experience with psilocybin mushrooms, not saying anything about my own experience or non-experience, but falling asleep is not one of the things that you expect to do. Before the experimental treatment, the patient could only speak in monosyllables, rarely initiated communication with others, and was very dependent on assistance for basic activities of daily living. Roughly 19 hours after the oral dose, the woman suddenly began to talk to herself. She kept doing so for several hours. Over the next few days, the elderly patient was reportedly able to control her bladder, dress and walk by herself, and engage in conversation, holding eye contact and smiling back. Quote, now, I read some other articles about this. Science Alert is being very clinical, listing these things. Like, she could engage in conversation. She was holding eye contact and smiling back. A sort of list of clinical things the woman was doing. In other descriptions, basically the woman was totally fine. She was just back to her normal self for a few weeks after the thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is, very interesting. It's one thing if she like gained these powers while she was high and then went back, but no, apparently she slept the whole time she was high and then just woke up normal and stayed that way for a couple weeks.
Maybe she just got a real good sleep. She just needed sleep.
Yeah, she just needed a nap. Quote, the persistence of urinary continence after more than 5 years of chronic incontinence is particularly notable. So gaining control of her body again, even these little controls that we take for granted, like when to pee and not pee. Let's see here. Given that continence depends on integrated interoceptive awareness, executive inhibition, and frontoinsular network function, write the researchers behind her case report, including neurologist Mariana Cerveria and Joe Xavier Simonet. Because of the woman's promising and lingering response to psilocybin, she was administered another 3 grams of mushrooms a month after the first session. This dose was also closely supervised. During the second session, the patient did not fall asleep, but remained verbally expressive throughout. She described emotional scenes like surfing with her son on a peaceful island. Quote, facial expressivity, emotional reciprocity, spontaneous humor, and gait agility appeared markedly improved, reads her case support. During the second session, the woman said, unprompted, quote, it is pleasant to come here. It is important to note that researchers in Brazil did not and then it goes on, give some sort of give some sciencey things like it didn't cure her, blah 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 blah. So very interesting. This was not a study. They're very apt. They make a very important point to say this isn't a study. This is just something we did. But Alzheimer's being a particularly concerning disease more and more every year, considered diabetes 3, meaning they are discovering that it's not just some random genetic thing. It's not just, it's a lot less mysterious, but that it might have a huge connection with our diet, aka society has been engineered in a way to create Alzheimer's more and more, and earlier and earlier, younger and younger people, right? And so Pharmakeia, the psilocybin mushrooms, come in as a very promising, at least lead. They're very clear to say that it's not curing the person, but more or less having what some were calling miraculous effects. And as we move more and more into this age of reenchantment, where psilocybin and other psychedelics are going to be considered less and less taboo, we could see where the big pharma opportunities might lie and where the social engineering of making these types of things less taboo can play into some things, described in Revelation when it comes to the magicians of the earth, the
merchants getting wealthy and using sorcery to deceive the world and things of that nature.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah,
very
very
interesting.
update. Yeah.
There's with any kind of science like this, there's always that discussion, and this discussion is something we've brought up a lot in the context of transhumanism, which is the dividing line between restoration and enhancement, right?
Yeah.
And in that regard, if some of this is restoring certain functions for people with dementia, at a certain level, it's kind of like there's an ethical.
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? And that's the
right.
question we've been having for many, many years. We even had Christian transhumanists on the show. We've had, I mean, this is a long-standing, very early, 15-year topic for us. And I think it's intellectually, if not spiritually, dishonest to go straight to,
It's all evil.
I'll say this. It's intellectually dishonest to not say, okay, look, Pharmakeia includes Advil, okay?
Yeah.
A biblical description of Pharmakeia, including sorcery, includes Advil. So us as Christians, it's easy for us to say something like magic mushrooms will make a demon, take over your body or something like that, and just say no way, Jose, but then turn around and take Advil, right? So it's these subtle, nuanced explorations that I think are going to be the most beneficial. Not to say that I'm sitting here as a proponent of giving Alzheimer's patients, or rather, certainly not saying I'm
dementia patients.
Give your dementia grandpa psilocybin. Although, I had a dementia grandpa.
Yeah.
There was a time where I probably might have said, okay, give it a try, see if it helps, because it's
if it helps, or might as
horrible
well, let him have fun, let him find Jesus.
But it's interesting how in our paradigm, it's the same conversation about, say, Neuralink, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That where Neuralink, these things are always sold as, hey, people who were born blind, now they can see. Praise God. We can make somebody's life better. So restoration of the original, image that God created us versus, hey, you're born totally fine. Let's put this chip in you, and now you're
enhance
telekinesis, right? So enhancement versus restoration, and the pace at which Pharmakeia is finding ways to at least give new, heretofore unavailable hope in these hopeless situations like Alzheimer's, etc., is the type of thing that could very easily have people closed off in times when maybe restoration is due, or so excited that the difference between restoration and enhancement is totally thrown out the window, and it's just like a good thing for everybody.
Well, we're going to keep track of all of it and bring it to you. And it's funny because the conversation on the reaction, I think that's maybe our job too. I was thinking about this as well, and I mentioned some of this in my weekly Bible study on Patreon. But in 15 years, there hasn't been a lot of shifts when it comes to the core things that matter, right? Like the Genesis 6 topic, a lot of the Heiser work that it had helped us understand what Jesus was doing, the three rebellions, and that sort of worldview and understanding of scripture and all that. That's sustained, and almost because it's so foundational and it's such an important piece to explain everything in culture, that it's interesting to me that those things have not shifted whatsoever. Like if we shifted our view on Genesis 6, that would be one thing, right? Like we went from, the fallen angel and all that whole narrative. I mean, maybe we're more nuanced on certain things, and more specific. I know I am. I'm like more specific about the words, and I care more about it much more than I used to. I think before it was like you say fallen angels and that was it. But now, you got to be a little more direct about what you're talking about and all this. But generally it hasn't changed, but the world obviously shifts from. I mean, we've seen a huge swing on all types of topics, and our job is not to get sort of swept away by every change in direction of the wind, but really to try to stay as grounded as possible when this happens.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting to me that 15 years ago, a story like this would have been like, no way. They're not going to, no, come on. They're not going to give a dementia patient mushrooms. That's crazy. But that's just science alert headlines now. And again, not case closed on anything, but just the fact that it's even part of the conversation, how much it has shifted and how much of our worldview has not shifted in 15 years, I think is, if there's any positive to come out of it, let it be proof that the word of God is true. Not that we're right. It's the word of God is true and that we can lean on it. And it's got the ability to speak to any generation because of the foundational truths and the core aspects of what the scriptures are, which is the word, the flesh. Oh, that's the other thing, Basil. I wanted to run this by you just real quick before we wrap it up here is, and so in this last 15 years, the feeling we get sometimes when there's a story and like we feel our intuition will tell us like, oh, this is really important. Like this story is like, oh, the prophetic thing. It's like, so, and we may have even gotten too excited about certain stories over the years to kind of bring that sort of context to it. But I think in hindsight, a lot of times when that happens, we think, and this is the danger. I talked about this in the Patreon if anyone's interested, but there's a danger that we prescribe those feelings to the Holy Spirit too soon, and maybe it is the Holy Spirit showing us things, but then we think, oh, the Holy Spirit is showing us this like prophetic thing. And then we get really excited about it. And then like days go by, weeks go by, months go by. And we, at least for me, if I'm prayerfully thinking about a topic that really got me going on whatever direction, what usually happens is the Holy Spirit will kind of stop and be like, you're not wrong to recognize a pattern or see this, but it's not the complete picture. Like you don't need to get that excited about it because it's like, it's all part of God's bigger plan. And I know you got excited. It's like, I made this analogy of, the Bible being the instructions, right? And if we have like a Lego set and we're building something and we see the final picture, it's on the box of the Lego piece, like here's what it's supposed to look like. And then we find like one piece of the puzzle and we're like, oh, we did it. We figured it out. We get really excited, but really it's just one small piece. There's a lot more moving parts. There's a lot more to put together and everything's got to work together in a way that we can't comprehend ever. We're never going to be able to comprehend it. And that's the thing that I hope if people get anything out of our shows and, our rants and our rambles about any of these topics is that we see through a glass darkly. We only see small pieces of it. And we have to allow that space to be like, hey, God has the final say in all this. Basil and Gons don't have the final say on how prophecy plays out, and nobody else does except the Lord. So I don't know. There's just an element of I don't see that in Bible prophecy teaching and conversation enough. Maybe it's out there. Maybe some people are more vocal about that, but a lot of times it's like, hey, this interpretation because of this and that, and they debate about that. But there's never like an acknowledgement of, hey, this is God's game here. This is God's deal. We're just sort of along for the ride. And, but at the same time, I'm not saying we want to see kisses and tickling when it comes to this stuff. If you get my drift here, I'm not trying to say, hey, in a battle, I wish there was more kissing and tickling.
Yeah. Very good. I think that's good, Guns. I think that's it for today. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. A big shout out to all of our producers. A big shout out, of course, to, so let's see, let me get the full name here. Sir Asher Pure of Heart, Knight of Thunder Oak. We have a few producers who came in, produced the show at their time. Of course, let's start out by thanking our time stampers.
Timestamp.
Timestamp. It's hard work. Timestamp.
Jade Bouncerson coming in.
Thank you very
Doing
much, Jade
timestamps. Thank
Bouncerson.
you.
Of course, a big shout out to Jam for heading up the Telegram channel. Thank you to Adam42 for heading up the Discord channel. Big shout out to everybody over at canarycry.community. If you're not yet in any of our communities, go join them. Telegram, Discord, canarycry.community. You can find those invite links at canarycry.party. Thank you to Joe for the feedback. Thank you to Sir Clank for everything you do. Thank you to Sir Ike as well. And a big shout out to everybody sharing the show out there. Look, everybody's exhausted. Everybody's having a time these days, and the news headlines are just too much. I think that's why God has been leading this show in a little bit more of an interesting direction, at least for now and at least for us. So maybe somebody in your life could appreciate the kinds of crazy things we got going on here. Share the show with them. We call it rattling cages, and all you got to do is walk right up to them, grab them by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. Guns, you got any last words?
Yeah. Looks like a storm split to ensure that the UFC fight would happen last night. So they were busting out the weather machines to make sure Trump, didn't have a bad.
That's right. I was going to let it happen. Fire up the microwaves.
Mm-hmm.
All right, everybody. That's what we got for today. We're going to be back on Wednesday, so tune in with us. But thanks for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage.
Straight to jail, straight to jail.
Alistair Crowley, devil worshippers.
Do not come back, you Nazi psychopath.
I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo.
I am having trouble doing the show.
Alistair Crowley, devil worshippers.
I've ordered more pills than anyone in the world.
I'm gonna haunt you.
But what if you're a grifter who needs to sell ads?
We're all gonna die.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Bye!
Heaven, can I? Heaven, can I? Tell me how you see me. Show me how to big thing. 'Cause I don't like what I'm seeing. Guess I'm outside of your beacon. Steady, steady, but I'm sinking. Up to heaven, not to sinking. Heaven, heaven, can I? Heaven, heaven, can I?
Now available.
Can I explain what you're seeing? 'Cause I'm going through the season. On this plane, I've been reaping. I'm free falling. Heaven, heaven, can I? Heaven, heaven, can I? Can I explain what you're seeing? I've been acting sort of feverish. These actions are the reasons. So can you tell me how to preach this? Ain't fair reasons. Tell me that you see it. Heaven, heaven, can I? Heaven, heaven, can I? Heaven, heaven, can I? Can't you see that I'm bleeding? Heart barely beating. Plus it's deceiving. Lungs ain't receiving. Down on my knees and with you I'm pleading. Save me from me and
Now available.
all my excuses. You said you'd excuse it, but I still feel ruthless. Walking around clueless. Like how did I do this? Heaven can I? Heaven can I? Use your life for these bruises. Heaven can I?
No work is no will to his neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfilling of the law. And that knowing the time, now it is high time to wake out of sleep. And that knowing the time, now it is high time to wake out of sleep. And now is our salvation nearer than when we believe. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light. And knowing the time, and now it is high time to wake out of sleep. And now is our salvation nearer than when we believe. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Night is far spent.
Value for value. We take no money from corporations, commies, or cartels.
Canary cried out,